Chapter 402. After a long while, Qi Shaowen suddenly raised his head and said, I remember now. That ancient book also recorded the method to activate the Taiji Yin-Yang formation. Do you have a pen and paper? I'll draw it. Please copy this address to your browser. Yi Yuan quickly handed over a pen and paper, and Qi Shaowen began to draw attentively. The Witch Clan elder had studied the plaza of the Witch Clan for many years, and was extremely familiar with every inch of it. When he saw Qi Shaowen's drawing, his eyes lit up, and he said, this is the miniature version of the plaza. At this point, the three of them finally believed that the Witch Clan's plaza was actually a huge Taiji Yin-Yang formation, and that the four symbols Venerable needed to rely on this formation to activate it. This is the heart of the formation. People can activate the formation at the heart of the formation and control the four symbols Venerable. Qi Shaowen pointed at a point on the painting and said excitedly. The three of them looked at the point he was pointing at the same time. Their hearts moved slightly as they said, the heart of the formation is in the center of the plaza. How do we activate it? Qi Shaowen picked up his pen and wrote another profound text, saying, this is the specific method to activate it, but I can't understand the profound meaning behind it, so I can only rely on you guys. The three of them looked at the text. It was indeed profound and obscure, but to the Witch Clan elder and Tang Zheng, it was not a heavenly book. The text explained in detail how to activate the formation, but it required many conditions. The Witch Clan elder shook his head regretfully. According to the text, activating this formation requires an extremely strong amount of genuine qi. Our genuine qi is not enough to support it. Tang Zheng also nodded. Yes, to activate the formation, one must stand at the center of the formation with one's own strength, use one's own genuine qi to activate the Taiji Yin-Yang formation, and use this genuine qi to pour into the bodies of the four stone statues, thus reaching the level of controlling the four symbols Venerable. So it turns out that blood is not needed to control the stone statues. You need to infuse your vital energy into the bodies of the four divine beasts according to a certain pattern. Only then will you be able to control them perfectly. However, using the blood of the shaman tribe as a guide will only trigger them. There is no way to truly control them, said the shaman tribe elder. The key is that none of us can reach the strength of the genuine qi mentioned above. I think we need to be in the Grandmaster realm to have so much genuine qi. Tang Zheng said. Don't we have any other way? At most, all of us can just pour our innate qi into the guardian god's body. Yi Yuan said unwillingly. The witch tribe elder shook his head and said, no, it's very clear that only one person's genuine qi can enter the guardian god's body. Everyone's genuine qi is different. If different people's genuine qi enters the guardian god's body, it will cause a huge mess. It's hard to predict what will happen in the end. Qi Shaowen heaved a long sigh and said, the four symbols Venerables are too miraculous. I really don't know what to do. He'd originally intended to study the four symbols Venerables, yet now, this had completely exceeded the scope of his study, and it caused him to be at a loss for what to do. I'll give it a try later. But right now, I have to recover my primary qi before the demon god breaks through the illusion array. Tang Zheng clenched his teeth and made up his mind. Among all of us, only you have the highest level of cultivation. This is the only way. The elder of the sorcerer tribe had no other choice but to do this. After the few of them left the room, Tang Zheng sat down cross-legged and quickly recovered his innate qi. When the sky gradually darkened, he finally completely recovered his strength and walked out of the room. The witch tribe was already brightly lit, and everyone was gathered in the plaza, listening to the rumbling sounds coming from the forest in the distance. Without a doubt, the demon god was breaking through the array, and the commotion was getting louder and louder. It was obvious that the illusion array could not hold on for much longer. Lord Envoy, let's eat first. The witch tribe elder said. No rush, let me take a look at the array first. Tang Zheng walked to the center of the plaza, and everyone stared at him. Under the illumination of the fire, he stopped in his tracks, and spread out his hands. The innate qi surged out from his palms, and flowed in all directions. This plaza was very big. After his innate chi had traveled a certain distance, it would no longer be controlled by his body and would become erratic. Doesn't this mean that there's no way to inject the innate chi into the stone statue? He collected his thoughts and tried a few more times, but every time, the innate chi would escape his control after traveling a certain distance. There was no way to succeed. Professor Chi's method is not feasible at all. It's impossible to inject the innate chi into the 4 stone statues at the same time, and at the center of the array at such a distance. His face darkened, and his eyebrows drooped in disappointment. Lord Envoy, what's wrong? The witch tribe elder asked anxiously. Tang Zheng shook his head and told the witch tribe elder what he felt. The witch tribe elder nodded and said, I noticed this when I saw you use it just now. Ordinary people can control the innate chi in their bodies as easily as their arms. Lord Envoy, your level of cultivation is high, so even if your innate chi can break through the restraints of your body, you can still succeed, but at such a distance, it's very difficult to control it. Tang Zheng glanced at the distance from the center of the array to each stone statue. The distance between the center and the 4 stone statues was equal, and they were all more than 10 meters apart. Doesn't that mean there's no other way? Qi Shaoan sighed regretfully. The others also looked at Tang Zheng. Everyone knew very well that the trump card to resist the demon god was these 4 stone statues. Now that Tang Zheng could not move them at all, he could only wait for the demon god to come knocking on his door. Lord Envoy, if we really can't do it, we will use the old method. We will use the blood of our witch tribe as a guide and let the guardian god protect our safety. The witch tribe elder said resolutely. No. Tang Zheng rejected without hesitation, unless we have no other choice, we cannot sacrifice the lives of our clansmen. But there's no other way. We can't just let the demon god attack, right? The witch tribe elder said with a bitter expression. Lord Envoy, we are willing to sacrifice ourselves. As long as we can protect the lifeline of the witch tribe, what is the point of sacrificing us? Yi Yuan took the lead and volunteered. Yes, we are willing to sacrifice ourselves. Isn't it just blood? We witch tribesmen are not afraid of bleeding, we are not afraid of sacrificing ourselves, as long as we die a worthy death. The others echoed loudly. The archaeological team could not help but be shocked when they saw how hot-blooded these people were and how they were willing to risk their lives. However, Lu Ming, who was mixed in with the group, curled his lips and had a look of disapproval. Lord Envoy, did you see that? This is the will of our witch tribe. The witch tribe elder said. Tang Zheng's face was stern as he looked at the resolute faces and said, if I say no, then no. This is an order, don't tell me that everyone is not going to follow my orders. With that said, the witch tribesmen all lowered their heads. The elder even bowed his body and said in fear and trepidation, we don't dare. If you don't dare, then follow my orders. I won't use your blood to activate the guardian god. I'll try again. Tang Zheng was about to do the same thing again when he heard a loud boom. A red light lit up in the forest outside the tribe, and then countless towering trees fell to the ground. Lord Envoy, Elder, the enemy has broken through the illusion array. The witch tribesmen on the city tower shouted. Fight! The elder of the sorcerer tribe shouted, and the tribesmen picked up their weapons and rushed up the city wall. The demon god's roar could be heard from outside the city gate. All of you, listen to me. If you surrender obediently, I can still take you under my command and fight with me. If you are stubborn, I will completely destroy you and make the sorcerer tribe disappear from this world. Lord Envoy, I will deal with him. You can continue to ponder over this Taiji formation. With that, the witch tribe elder rushed up the city wall and said sternly, the witch tribe will only die on the battlefield and will never surrender. You should give up on this thought. Since that's the case, then there's no need for the witch tribe to exist in this world. The demon god roared. Release the arrows. With the order of the witch tribe elder, countless arrows rained down from the city wall, covering the sky and the earth. Child's play, I'll show you what I can do. The demon god shouted and immediately launched a counterattack. Tang Zheng listened to the sounds of the fierce battle, his heartstrings tightened and his breathing quickened involuntarily. The archaeological team standing at the side was even more anxious. Qi Shaoan advised, Tang Zheng, don't panic, calm down, there will be a way, I believe in you. Yes, we all believe in you, Tang Zheng, you will succeed. The archaeological team placed all their hopes of survival on Tang Zheng. Of course, they hoped for a miracle. Weren't those witch tribesmen willing to sacrifice themselves? He rejected it himself. I think he is an arrogant fool who wants to get us all killed. Lu Ming sneered. Shut up. You have no right to speak here. Qi Shaoan shouted. Lu Ming shrunk his neck, not daring to speak any more nonsense. Everyone stared at Tang Zheng. Tang Zheng felt an unprecedented pressure. Everyone's lives depended on him. He tried to control the flow of vital energy into the stone statue again, but he failed just like before. Tang Zheng gritted his teeth and thought, if I don't succeed again, the elder and the rest won't be able to stop the demon god. I must succeed, but the problem is that I have too little vital energy, and the vital energy is flowing outside my body, I can't control it at all. He racked his brains and suddenly, an idea came to him. What if I have enough vital energy? However, a person's vital energy was limited by their cultivation level, there was only so much vital energy. However, this was only for ordinary people. Tang Zheng could find another way to solve this problem. Yes, the dragon origin pill, it can increase enough vital energy in a short period of time, maybe it will work. Tang Zheng immediately took out a dragon origin pill and swallowed it, a loud bang sounded in his body. The dragon origin pill transformed into a majestic energy, rushing into his 8 extraordinary meridians like a flood, as if it was going to burst his body. He waved his hands in all directions, swoosh, swoosh, swoosh. The vigorous vital energy was visible to the naked eye, creating ripples in the air, shooting rapidly toward the 4 guardian deities. Swoosh. The complicated patterns on the square immediately lit up, and rays of black light shot up into the sky. The patterns floated, emitting a mysterious power. Chapter 403. This miraculous scene caused everyone to be flabbergasted. Many people had already started asking each other, is this a success? No one knew the answer, even Tang Zheng did not know the answer. He only continuously channeled the innate qi outwards. The dragon Yuan Dan was indeed very powerful, and with him wantonly squandering the innate qi like this, his body still felt like it was about to explode. Please copy this address to your browser to see the first page. The patterns and the innate qi quickly flew towards the 4 stone statues. The patterns wrapped around the stone statues, and the innate qi also entered the stone statues. Immediately, Tang Zheng felt a strong suction force, crazily absorbing his innate qi. Hoo, the innate qi was like a surging river, quickly flowing away. Look, the stone statue is glowing. Someone pointed at the stone statue and exclaimed. The stone statue was indeed emitting a black light. Tang Zheng also saw it, and was overjoyed. It seemed that he had really succeeded. After injecting the innate qi, the guardian god seemed to be coming to life. When the great clan elder and the others on the city gate tower saw this scene, they were all overjoyed, and said, everyone work harder, Lord Envoy has succeeded, as long as we awaken the guardian god, then the enemy will not be our match. One by one, the witch clan members' eyes lit up as they charged towards the demon god and the other 2 without caring about their own safety. This kind of long-distance attack, the arrows were indeed blessed by the heavens, causing the demon god and the other 2 to have no way of getting close. The demon god raised his head and looked at the tall city wall. He frowned and said, it wasn't easy for us to break through that illusion array. How can we be blocked by this wall? Everyone, work harder, we must rush in. Demon god, look, the stone statue is glowing. Louis pointed at the stone statue that was a large part of the city wall and exclaimed. The demon god took a closer look. The stone statue was indeed emitting a black light, and it was getting brighter and brighter. A mysterious aura was gradually spreading out. The demon god was greatly shaken, and said, "We have to rush in as soon as possible, they are fantasizing about the four symbols venerable, damn it, this group of people actually have a way to awaken such a powerful four symbols venerable, we definitely can't let them succeed, or else we'll be in trouble." The demon god's body was covered in a bloody light. He waved his hand and the blood blade flew into the sky. He jumped on the blood blade and shouted, "Lewis, transform and fly in from the sky." The Fian Celestial's move was also a sword kinesis technique, but it wasn't simple. It allowed the blood blade to carry the weight of a person and fly in the air. It was equivalent to giving a person a pair of wings. This move consumed a lot of energy, so the demon god would not use it easily. But now, he could not care less. When the demon god controlled the blood blade to fly into the sky, Lewis also transformed and flew up. Only Sawada Ichiro could only look on helplessly. The two of them flew over the city tower and towards the center of the square. The elder of the witch tribe shouted in panic, "Release the arrows. Stop them. We must stop them." Whoosh! Whoosh! Many arrows soared into the sky, shrouding the two of them like a dark cloud. However, a layer of red light appeared on the demonic god's body, blocking all the arrows. Lewis flapped his wings fiercely, and it was as if a tornado had swept past, causing the rain of arrows to be unable to do anything to him. The demon god had already seen Tang Jing casting his spell. He shouted, "Charge down. We must stop this kid." Whoosh! Whoosh! Two figures swooped down like two cannonballs, heading straight for Tang Jing. Tang Jing was casting his spell and did not have any extra energy to fight. At that moment, the elder roared and jumped down from the city tower. He waved his scepter forward and blocked Tang Jing's head. Furthermore, vines spread out from the scepter and rapidly grew, as though they were holding up a huge umbrella for Tang Jing. Boom! With one move from the demon god, the large umbrella made of interwoven vines was shattered into pieces. However, with this buffer time, the elder of the sorcerer tribe had already rushed to the square and smashed his huge fist directly at the demon god. Boom! The elder of the witch tribe flew out, but the demon god only paused for a moment before flying towards Tang Jing. He descended from the sky and was determined to completely destroy Tang Jing. Everyone watched this scene with their eyes wide open, but no one had the ability to lend a helping hand. Tang Jing also had no other choice. Just now, he had used up all his genuine qi. He hurriedly took a second Dragon Yuan elixir to be able to continue supporting the formation. Only then did he realize that activating the Tai Chi Yin-Yang formation was not as simple as he had imagined. The four stone statues were like four bottomless pits, constantly absorbing his genuine qi. If it were not for the Dragon Yuan elixir providing him with genuine qi, he would have been sucked dry and become a cripple even without the demon god's attack. "Die, Tang Jing!" the demon god shouted. The bloody blade fell back into his hand. With a flash of red light, it slashed towards Tang Jing. No! Many people let out heart-wrenching screams, but no one was able to stop all of this. Just as the bloody blade was about to hit Tang Jing, a black light suddenly spread out from the center of the square and quickly wrapped around Tang Jing. Boom! The bloody blade slashed onto the black light, but the black light only trembled slightly. On the other hand, the demon god was sent flying into the sky by a huge force. Whiz! The black light rapidly expanded. In the end, it not only wrapped around Tang Jing, but also the entire square. It was like a huge protective shield. What's going on? The demon god and Lewis floated in the air, looking at everything in shock. They could not understand at all. The others heaved a sigh of relief and stared at the protective shield with their mouths agape. The elder of the witch tribe said after a long while, "The guardian god is protecting us." All the people of the witch tribe knelt on the ground and kowtowed to the stone statue. Their eyes were filled with excitement and gratitude. When the archaeological team saw this magical scene, their brains were no longer enough. Other than their mouths wide open and their faces full of surprise, they did not know what words to use to describe their feelings. Kill. I don't believe that this crappy barrier can protect you. The demon god roared indignantly. He would not admit defeat, nor did he want to fail on the verge of success. Boom. The bloody blade slashed at the protective shield again, causing it to tremble. It was intact, but the demon god did not plan on letting it go. He urged, Lewis, you too. Let's break through this protective shield together. Otherwise, we will fail on the verge of success. Boom. 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 The demon god and Lewis were like two madmen as they constantly attacked the protective shield. The protective shield was very stable in the beginning, but cracks began to appear later on. The duo's attacks were still very terrifying. The protective shield clearly could not hold on any longer. Everyone looked at the protective shield in horror and asked, what do we do? What do we do now? Everyone, believe in the Lord Messenger. Believe in the guardian god. We will definitely be fine, the elder of the witch tribe comforted. Everyone could not help but look at Tang Zheng. His face was covered in sweat and his veins protruded. His body was trembling slightly. Clearly, he was struggling to hold on. Ka-cha! Suddenly, the protective shield shattered and dissipated into black light that filled the sky. Everyone was once again exposed to the demon god's attacks. Ha, let's see how you resist now. The demon god swooped down and headed straight for Tang Zheng. Rumble. Suddenly, the ground trembled. Just as the demon god was about to hit Tang Zheng, he suddenly felt a strong sense of danger. His heart trembled as he gave up on attacking Tang Zheng and quickly flew to the side. So. A huge palm swept across the spot where the demon god had been. If he had not dodged, he would have definitely been caught by the palm. It was the stone statue's palm. The stone statues moved and the four supremes came to life. Their eyes suffused a glow and a glance was enough to make one feel an overwhelming pressure. This. The demon god looked at the four awakened stone statues with his mouth agape. His heart turned cold. Wow, the guardian god. The guardian god has finally awakened. We are saved. The cheers of the witch tribe were deafening as everyone broke into laughter. Phew. Tang Zheng heaved a sigh of relief. At the last moment, just as his innate qi was about to run out, these four symbols venerable ones were finally awakened. The moment they opened their eyes and moved, Tang Zheng had an illusion, as if there was a mysterious connection between him and these stone statues. Suddenly, one of the stone statues bent down and knelt down in front of Tang Zheng. Yes, the legendary four symbols venerable actually knelt down in front of Tang Zheng. Everyone stared at the scene in disbelief. Even Tang Zheng felt as if he had fallen into the clouds. He had no idea what was going on. However, he was certain that the four supremes had no ill intentions towards him. Instead, there was a voice calling out to him from the bottom of his heart, encouraging him to walk over. As a result, he walked over to the kneeling stone statue. The stone statue's eyes were very bright and gave off an indescribable pressure to ordinary people. However, Tang Zheng did not feel any pressure at all. Instead, he felt a sense of intimacy. The stone statue opened a palm and placed it flat on the ground. Tang Zheng was confused and had no idea what it meant. However, the stone statue was not in a hurry. Instead, it stared straight at Tang Zheng. Suddenly, Tang Zheng seemed to have understood something. He carefully walked over to the palm and stood on it. Hiss. Many people sucked in a breath of cold air. Just now, they had clearly seen how powerful that palm was. As long as that palm gently grasped it, Tang Zheng would be smashed into pieces. Many people's hearts were in their throats. The demon god and Lewis watched all of this with mixed feelings. They had no idea what was going to happen next. On the contrary, Tang Zheng's heart was the calmest. He could feel a sense of intimacy from the stone statue. There was not the slightest trace of hostility. The stone statue stood up and raised its palm to where its heart was. Kacha! Suddenly, a stone door opened in its heart. This scene was like a miracle, causing everyone to hold their breaths at the same time. Tang Zheng lightly leaped from the palm to the stone door. Then, he strode inside. A black light instantly enveloped him, making him feel warm. In a daze, Tang Zheng arrived on a chair made of stone. As soon as he sat on this stone chair, many things inexplicably appeared in his heart. At this moment, his eyes also became pitch black, like the deep night sky. Raise your leg. A thought suddenly appeared in his mind. Boom! The earth trembled. The stone statue raised its leg and put it down again, moving according to Tang Zheng's thoughts. Chapter 404. Tang Zheng was astounded. He could actually control the statue according to his will. Everyone on the ground watched as Tang Zheng disappeared into the statue's chest. Their mouths were about to fall to the ground. Please copy this address to your browser. Fuck, why the F***ck is this happening? The demon god cursed. He could not figure it out no matter how hard he thought about it. The feeling of unease grew stronger and stronger. Tang Zheng heard the demon god's furious roar. With a thought, the Venerable of Four Symbols strode towards the demon god. Before the Venerable of Four Symbols, the demon god was like an ant. The demon god rapidly retreated. Seeing that he could no longer retreat, he charged into the sky and slashed at the Venerable of Four Symbols. Sparks flew, but the Venerable of Four Symbols remained unscathed. Tang Zheng swept his hand through the air. The Venerable of Four Symbols did the same. Its huge arm directly swept towards the demon god. Bang! The demon god was swept into the city wall by this attack. Debris flew everywhere as he slammed into the wall. He was in a sorry state. He staggered to the ground and stared at the Venerable of Four Symbols in despair. He said, "Impossible. Why is this thing so powerful? Why does Tang Zheng have the fortune to be able to control it? Why?" He asked several questions in a row. Clearly, he was unwilling to give up. He gripped his blade tightly and charged up again with a roar. Tss. A huge palm fell from the sky. The demon god felt like a dark cloud was floating over his head. The tremendous pressure made him tremble from the depths of his soul. Smack! The stone palm struck the square. The square remained unscathed, but everyone knew that if they were struck, they would definitely be reduced to mincemeat. Louis, what are you staring at? Hurry up and attack him. Let's attack him together, the demon god called out in a panic. Whoosh! 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 Louis hurriedly flapped his wings. Streaks of cold light shot out from his wings and struck the Venerable of Four Symbols. The ding-dang rang out, but it did not leave a single mark on the Venerable of Four Symbols. Although Tang Zheng was inside the body of the Four Symbol Saint, he could clearly see Louis's actions. This feeling was very mysterious. It was as if he had become one with the Four Symbol Saint. What the Four Symbol Saint saw was what he saw. Tang Zheng casually swept his hand and grabbed at Louis. Louis knew how powerful this was, so he hurriedly flapped his wings and retreated. However, his speed was clearly a level lower than the demon god's. The Four Symbols Venerable's giant hand changed its move very quickly. The lightning arrow blocked his path of retreat and grabbed him in the palm of its hand. Ah! Louis immediately opened his mouth and screamed in agony. The immense pressure caused his blood to drip down from the palm of the Four Symbols Venerable. Bang! With a loud explosion, Louis was crushed into pieces. However, with a flash of blood, Louis turned back into bats and flew into the sky. Xiao Bai, burn him! Tang Zheng shouted. When Little White heard the sound, it leaped up from the ground and jumped onto the Four Symbols Venerable's body. Then, it opened its pink mouth and spat out with all its might. Boom! Flames filled the sky. Half the sky was dyed red, as if the clouds were on fire. Quite a few bats were directly enveloped by the flames. Sharp screams of agony rang through the night sky. However, in the end, a few bats still managed to escape in a panic. Tang Zheng did not continue to pursue them. Instead, he stared at the demon god and said, "Demon god, tell me, will you die or will I die?" His voice was like rolling thunder, exuding a powerful sense of authority. "Brat, I don't know what method you've used to control the four symbols venerable, but let me tell you, there's no way you can kill me." The demon god roared furiously, refusing to admit defeat. "Humph, is that so? Then let's have another competition." Just as Tang Zheng's voice fell, the four symbols venerable raised his head and roared, directly stomping towards the demon god. It was as if Mount Tai was pressing down on him, causing the demon god to roll and crawl to avoid this calamity. "This won't do. The four symbols venerable is too strong, and I can't harm him at all. If this stalemate continues, I'll be the one to suffer if I'm careless. I need to leave first and slowly plan things out in the future. This brat can't hide in the four symbols venerable's body forever. As long as he's alone, I'll be able to deal with him," the demon god thought. Seeing the four symbols venerable attack him on all fours, the demon god leapt into the air and tried to flee on his blood blade. Tang Zheng saw through the demon god's intentions with a single glance. He called out, "Stay!" With a palm strike, a power that could topple mountains and overturn seas surged out. There was a muffled sound of thunder in the sky, and with a bang, the bloody light on the surface of the demon god's body was swept into pieces by this palm. The demon god spat out a mouthful of blood, but he didn't dare to stay. Instead, he kept urging his power, and with a whoosh, he turned into a bloody light and fled. The demon god Sawada Ichiro fled from the sky as well. He also fled with his tail between his legs. The originally intense battlefield immediately quieted down. Everyone looked at the four symbols venerable at the same time. The shamans also noticed something strange. The four protectors had moved earlier, but ever since Tang Zheng entered one of them, the other three stopped. There was a huge difference from the last time when the four protectors moved together to deal with the mystical beasts. Furthermore, it was obvious that the protectors' battle prowess had increased by a lot this time. No one could figure out what was going on. Tang Zheng walked out of the door in the four symbols venerable's chest and was carried back to the ground. Then, the four symbols venerable returned to his original position. He did not move at all, as if he had never moved. Everyone immediately gathered around, wanting to say something but hesitating. Tang Zheng signaled everyone to calm down with his eyes. He said calmly, "Everyone, go back and rest. The enemy has escaped and will not come back for the time being." Seeing that Tang Zheng wanted to say something but hesitated, it was obvious that he had something to say in front of everyone. The shaman elder said in a deep voice, "Lord Envoy is right. We don't know what kind of dangerous things will happen tomorrow. Everyone, go back and rest." Thus, the shamans obediently returned to their rooms. Tang Zheng looked at the archaeological team and said, "You guys should also go back and rest. We've experienced too many things in the past few days. Everyone is physically and mentally exhausted. Tonight, we can have a good night's sleep." Now, Tang Zheng was the leader here, and the archaeological team did not dare to disobey him. Even Lu Ming, after seeing his methods, did not dare to speak nonsense anymore. He quickly returned to his room, afraid that Tang Zheng would cause trouble for him. Qi Shaoan was very gratified that he had helped to resolve this crisis. He said, "Tang Zheng, you've worked hard in this series of battles. You should also rest early." "Yes, Professor Qi." Qi Shaoan raised his head and looked at the four symbols venerable with a complicated expression. He had originally come to study these stone statues, but now he realized that with his own knowledge, he could not understand them at all. He could only sigh. "Elder, let's talk inside." Tang Zheng called the elder and Yi Yuan back to the house. Seeing Tang Zheng's serious expression, the elder asked nervously, "Lord Envoy, what's wrong?" Tang Zheng asked in a deep voice, "Is there really no detailed information about the protectors in the shaman tribe?" The elder thought for a while, then firmly shook his head. "There really isn't. Is there a problem with the protectors? There's no problem, but just like what the demon god said, these 4 stone statues are the 4 symbols venerable ones, a rather terrifying existence in this world. When their strength is strong, they can destroy the heavens and earth. Tang Zheng said. Destroy the heavens and earth? The elder sucked in a breath of cold air, his eyes shining. This was left behind for us by the ancestors of the shaman tribe. Back then, the ancestors really had foresight. They knew that our shaman tribe would encounter many disasters, so they left behind such a powerful guardian god for us. Yes, although I am not sure which ancestor of the shaman tribe left behind the 4 symbols venerable ones, but when I was communicating with the 4 symbols venerable ones, I received some other fragmented information. What fragment of information? The elder and Yi Yuan were both very curious. These fragments are very messy, they seem to be talking about a very intense battle, countless powerful experts are fighting, shaking the heavens and earth, and the entire world seems to be on the verge of destruction. The clearest part is the fragment about the 4 symbols venerable ones. They are fighting with extremely powerful demon beasts, the sun, moon and stars are all dim, and it is unknown how many years they have been fighting, but in the end, many demon beasts were killed by them. And these demon beasts are different from the demon beasts we have seen before. I can't even name them, but without a doubt, these demon beasts all have the ability to pierce through the heavens and earth, and their bodies are also huge. Each of them is like a towering mountain peak, standing tall between the heavens and earth, giving people a very small feeling. As Tang Zheng spoke, he could not help but exclaim. He was obviously shocked by the fragmented fragments he had just obtained. Although they were only fragmented fragments, he still felt as if he was there, and could completely sense how terrifying that world-shaking battle was. He believed that with his little bit of strength, if he was in that battlefield, he would be killed in less than a minute. This was because the difference between the 2 sides could no longer be described as the difference between heaven and earth. There was simply no comparison. In the past, Tang Zheng felt good about himself and felt that his strength was not bad. However, compared to the many supreme experts in that fragment, he was as small as an ant. The elder and Yi Yuan were also flabbergasted, stunned by Tang Zheng's description. After a long while, they said, "Is there still such a powerful demonic beasts in this world? It's like a mountain, how huge would that be? The fighting strength of that kind of demonic beasts is too terrifying. It's really hard to imagine." Yi Yuan also exclaimed, "The key is that they were still destroyed by the 4 symbols venerable ones. This means that the 4 symbols venerable ones' bodies are even more powerful than what we saw today." Tang Zheng nodded his head solemnly. He had also judged this point. Although the 4 symbols venerable ones had forced the demon god to flee, compared to the fighting strength in that fragment, it was simply a piece of cake. Tang Zheng even had the misconception that letting the 4 symbols venerable ones deal with an enemy at the level of the demon god was like using a butcher's knife to kill a chicken. Lord Envoy, that great battle must have happened a very long time ago. I can't be sure about the specifics. I'm afraid there aren't any demonic beasts of that level in this world anymore. The elder said. Tang Zheng suddenly had an idea, as if he had thought of something. He subconsciously said, "That might not be true." Chapter 405. The Witch Clan elder and Yi Yuan were shocked, and said, "Not necessarily. Could it be that there are still such powerful demonic beasts in this world?" Tang Zheng thought back to the lightning cloud he had encountered in the prehistoric heavenly tomb. That terrifying aura was still fresh in his mind, and he could conclude that there was definitely some kind of extraordinary creature in the clouds. Please copy this address to your browser to see. After Tang Zheng's explanation, the elder was also shocked, and said, "How can there be such a powerful demonic beasts in the Forbidden Grounds?" Most likely. Then if this kind of demonic beasts were to leave the Forbidden Grounds? The elder no longer dared to imagine the consequences. Tang Zheng shook his head. "No, when I left the prehistoric heavenly tomb, the clouds did not chase after me, which means that its range of activity is in the prehistoric heavenly tomb. How could such a powerful demonic beast survive?" Tang Zheng did not know the answer either, but from the memory fragments just now, he had a bold guess. The origin of the prehistoric heavenly tomb had always been a mystery, and in the memory fragments, there must have been many experts who had fallen in that heaven-shaking battle. Could the prehistoric heavenly tomb be the tomb of those experts? Very likely. The witch clan elder's eyes lit up. Prehistoric heavenly tomb has always been a forbidden area for the witch clan. According to legend, there are powerful existences that we can't resist, and when Lord Envoy entered last time, it proved this point. Furthermore, he found out that there were many experts buried inside, and these experts would definitely not die so easily. They must have experienced an incomparable great battle, and the scenes that Lord Envoy described were extremely similar to that level of great battle. In other words, the four symbols venerable experienced that incomparable battle. Do you think it could be the legendary Battle of Zhuolu? Tang Zheng suddenly had an idea and asked. It's possible. The ancestors of the witch clan followed Qi Yu and participated in that great battle. Could there be tombs of the ancestors of the witch clan in the prehistoric heavenly tomb? In addition, the fact that the witch clan was imprisoned here has always been a secret. No one knows about this secret, so is there an answer to this matter in the prehistoric heavenly tomb? The elder asked a few questions in a row and gradually became agitated. He said, Lord Envoy, we must get to the bottom of this. This is related to the history of the Magi. Tang Zheng muttered, that makes sense. Then we'll have to go to the forbidden area again. Now, Lord Envoy, you can control the guardian god. Even if you go to the forbidden grounds again, there shouldn't be any problems, right? Yi Yuan said. The witch clan elder also looked at Tang Zheng with a burning gaze and said, Yuan's words are reasonable. With the protection of the guardian god, you can enter the forbidden grounds. I don't know if it's possible to bring the guardian out of the tribe. Let's try again tomorrow. Tang Zheng was also itching to make a move. If he could really bring the fiend celestial out of the tribe, he could really barge into the forbidden land. In addition, didn't Tian Chanzi say that he was in the 10,000 huge mountains, but he had not been seen for the past few days? Even the witch clan had not seen him, which meant that he had gone straight to the prehistoric heavenly tomb. Tang Zheng now understood that the prehistoric heavenly tomb was far more dangerous than he had imagined. Although the heaven monk's cultivation was very high, it did not mean that he would not encounter any danger. After so long, there was no news of him. No matter what, he had to make a trip to the prehistoric heavenly tomb. This time, Lord Envoy has really controlled the guardian god, and not just used his blood to wake them up like last time. I feel that this time, he will definitely be able to get the god of surgery to leave the plaza. The witch clan elder said confidently. This night was very long. Whether it was the witch clan or the archaeological team, none of them really slept well. After all, the battle during the day was too intense, causing them to be unable to sleep for a long time. On the other hand, there were also people who could not sleep, and were even shrouded in fear. The three of them reunited once again, but all three of them were in a sorry state, especially Louis. Although he had once again transformed into his human form, his entire body was charred black, as if he had been burned by fire. There was also a burn scar on his delicate face, making him look somewhat sinister and terrifying. Demon God, that stone statue is too powerful. What should we do? Louis gritted his teeth and asked, his eyes burning with anger. I have only heard of the strength of the four symbols venerable, but I did not know that they were actually so strong, far surpassing my expectations. However, this is also good, the more powerful they are, the more I want to obtain them. The demon god clenched his fists and said in a deep voice. Ichiro Sawada's face was pale as he said fearfully, Master, then what method do we have to obtain those stone statues? I haven't thought of it yet, but as long as we capture that brat Tang Zheng alive, we will definitely be able to find out how he controls the four symbols venerable. If we follow his instructions, we will naturally succeed. At that time, with the four symbols venerable, we will truly be invincible in the world. Whoever resists me, I will let them die. The demon god's face flushed red as he said excitedly. But he has the four symbols venerable, it's too difficult for us to capture him alive. Ichiro Sawada was even a little regretful. Making an enemy out of Tang Zheng was truly courting death. But now that his life was in the hands of the demon god, he had no chance of escaping. He felt bitter in his heart. If he had known earlier, he wouldn't have come to Huaxia to look for his junior brother, Yamamoto. Now, even his life was going to be lost, it was not worth it. So what if he has the four symbols venerable? As long as we keep an eye on him, there will always be a time when he is alone. Moreover, he can't always hide in the 10,000 huge mountains. As long as he leaves the 10,000 huge mountains, how can a guy as big as the four symbols venerable always accompany him to the city? The demon god said disapprovingly. Louis and Ichiro Sawada's eyes lit up as they agreed, right, as long as he leaves the 10,000 huge mountains, he will not be our match. He will definitely die. So, right now, we have to monitor the witch tribe from afar. We definitely can't let that brat Tangjing escape. The demon god said. Don't worry, not even a fly can escape from under our noses. Louis said confidently. What if your face is ruined? The demon god glanced at him and asked. It doesn't matter. As long as I absorb human blood and recover my strength, the wound will naturally heal. Louis said indifferently. Ichiro Sawada trembled all over and subconsciously moved a step away, afraid that Louis would suck his blood. However, he and the demon god were both very curious about the immortal vampires. The demon god went straight to the point and asked, what is the origin of the immortal vampires? Demon god, it is most appropriate for my father to answer you when you go to the Western Empire in the future. There are many things about the immortal vampires that only he knows. Louis said. Alright, after I take care of that brat Tangjing this time, I will definitely go to the Western Empire to take a look. The demon god said. The sky gradually brightened, and the 10,000 mountains regained its vitality. Many animals had awakened, and the witch tribe had also become lively. Everyone was woken up by the sound of rumbling footsteps early in the morning, and they all got up and rushed out of the house, thinking that the enemy had launched another attack. But when he looked closely, he saw a stone statue taking large strides in the square. It was majestic, and he could see huge fists and legs moving as fast as lightning. It was as if a giant was practicing martial arts. Every move and style was serious, and the power was extraordinary. If Tian Chanzi was here, he would definitely recognize that this was the move of the Heaven's Luo hand. However, in the hands of the four symbols venerable, the power of the Heaven's Luo hand increased explosively, causing no one to dare underestimate it. Seeing this, the witch clan elder exclaimed in admiration, although our witch clan cultivates the primal chaos Vajra spell and is born with divine strength, under the attacks of the guardian god, we are like grass, unable to resist at all. That's right, the guardian god is too powerful under the control of the emissary. Yi Yuan agreed. Boom! The four symbols venerable one stopped, and Tang Zheng jumped down from its body, heaving a sigh of relief. He had been pondering about the four symbols venerable one since early in the morning, and in the end, when he entered the four symbols venerable one's body once again, he had a mysterious feeling of two becoming one. With a flash of inspiration, he actually used the Heaven's Luo hand, but he did not expect the four symbols venerable one to use the exact same technique. Lord Envoy, can the guardian god walk out of the tribe's range? The witch clan elder asked with concern. Tang Zheng nodded his head. Yes, just now, I was connected to the four symbols venerable one and understood many things. It can indeed walk out of this area, but unfortunately, my cultivation is still weak, so I am unable to control the four guardian gods. For the time being, I can only control one guardian god. However, this is already very powerful. However, if you can control four of them, then Lord Envoy, you will be even more powerful. The witch clan elder said excitedly, Lord Envoy, there's no time to lose. Let's set off for the Forbidden Grounds today. That's what I think too. Tang Zheng nodded his head. After saying that, he saw the archaeological team walking over. His heart skipped a beat as he asked, Professor Qi, what are your plans next? Qi Shaoan glanced at the towering four symbols Venerable One and said regretfully, since we are no longer able to study these four stone statues, then there's no point in us staying here. Let's go back. Tang Zheng, what are you going to do next? I will stay in the 10,000 huge mountains for a while. Tang Zheng said, I will arrange for my clansmen to send you out of the 10,000 huge mountains. Professor Qi, I have hidden a lot of things from you during this archaeology. I am really sorry. Qi Shaoan smiled and said, I'm very satisfied that I've seen so many things that are beyond my imagination in my lifetime. However, the sorcerer tribe has already appeared in this world. It's impossible to hide it any longer. Even with the 100,000 mountains as a cover, it's impossible to hide it from the country's machinery. Tang Zheng was stunned. He already knew that the archaeological team would report the truth to their superiors. Moreover, Lu Ming, who had always been against Tang Zheng, would not help Tang Zheng hide the witch clan. In other words, the witch clan would soon be exposed to the public. Tang Zheng looked around. He looked at the black mass of witch clan clansmen and then at the tall four symbols Venerable One. He said loudly, it's okay. From now on, the witch clan will truly step onto the world stage. The witch clan had been forgotten by the world for so many years. Tang Zheng did not mind letting them reappear in the world's eyes. Although there would be many problems that would follow, Tang Zheng believed that he could solve them. Author's digression. Today is Christmas Eve. Merry Christmas to everyone. Chapter 406. Seeing that Tang Zheng's attitude was firm, Qi Shaoan said in relief, if that's the case, then I have nothing to worry about. We will leave today, and you must be careful as well. Please copy this address to your browser to see the first page. The archaeological team left with a complicated mood. Tang Zheng sent out a group of witch clan clansmen to escort them out of the 10,000 huge mountains. Tang Zheng also set off, but he did not bring too many witch clan warriors, only Yi Yuan followed him. This time, going to the forbidden grounds was extremely dangerous. The fewer people there were, the safer it would be. In addition, he had only taken away one of the guardian gods, the other three guardian gods had already been completely activated. As long as someone attacked the witch clan tribe, the guardian gods would immediately counterattack, which was enough to protect the witch clan's safety. The witch clan elders also stayed behind to preside over everything and deal with any dangers that could come at any time. Boom! 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 A guardian god took large strides, directly crossing the high walls of the tribe and walking towards the forest. Tang Zheng was not inside the body of the four symbols Venerable. As long as the four symbols Venerable did not launch any complicated attacks, Tang Zheng could control some simple movements from the outside. Thus, Tang Zheng rode on the heavenly horse, Yi Yuan rode on the good colt, and Xiao Bai stood on Tang Zheng's shoulder, following the footsteps of the four symbols Venerable as they headed towards the direction of the forbidden grounds. In the middle of the 10,000 huge mountains, the trees were tall and dense. Many of the trees were even hundreds of meters tall. Although the four symbols Venerable was a huge monster, it did not seem to stand out among these towering trees. Wherever they passed, all the animals would retreat in all directions. Even the occasional demonic beasts that they saw would flee without a trace, not daring to contend against them at all. The group pressed forward with an indomitable will. There was no one or object that could obstruct their path forward. Even the swamp was not a problem for the four symbols Venerable. It stepped into the swamp without any hesitation. The swamp that had swallowed many lives was like a small pond before it. The demon god and the other two had been monitoring their movements the entire time. When they saw this scene from afar, they were all shocked. Their throats were dry, and they became more and more aware of the difference between them and the four symbols Venerable. Where are they going? Louis asked, puzzled. They are heading west. Is there something there? Sawada Ichiro asked suspiciously. The demon god's face was gloomy and uncertain. No matter what they are up to, we must catch up with them. We can't let that brat Tang Zheng escape our sight. They walked for a few days, eating and sleeping in the open. When they arrived in front of the huge black stone tablet outside the forbidden area, they stopped. Seeing this stone tablet again, Tang Zheng had mixed feelings. The scene when he first came here was still vivid in his mind. This was the first time Yi Yuan had seen the stone tablet. The 4 bright red words, "Death to trespassers," were filled with killing intent, and had a kind of soul-stirring magic power. This is the forbidden area. We've finally arrived. Yi Yuan sighed. Don't touch this stone tablet, or you will lose your life, Tang Zheng warned. Yi Yuan's heart trembled, his mood became even more serious, but he was also faintly excited. The forbidden grounds that the witch clan had not stepped into for many generations, he finally had the chance to see what was going on. The forbidden grounds are extremely dangerous. Don't go too far away from me later, do you understand? Tang Zheng warned solemnly. I know, Lord Envoy. Yi Yuan's expression was unprecedentedly serious. In the distance, the demon god and the other 2 also saw the stone tablet and were dumbstruck. They never thought that there would be such a stone tablet in this vast mountain. Louis and Sawada Ichiro looked at the demon god blankly and asked, "What is this place?" The demon god shook his head and did not say anything. For the time being, he could not tell where this place was, but he could feel a boundless aura spreading out from behind the stone tablet, causing his heart to involuntarily become nervous. This is definitely not some treasure ground. I feel that there is a lot of danger. Sawada Ichiro shrunk his head, relying on his intuition, he said in a trembling voice. Even if it's dangerous, we have to go. If they can go, we can still go. Louis said fearlessly. He already hated Tang Zheng to the bones, and would definitely not allow him to escape from under his nose. Look, they're going in. Let's follow them. The demon god said as he turned into a red light and quickly chased after them. He stopped in front of the stone tablet and looked at it with a burning gaze. Death to those who trespass. Louis read out. Sawada Ichiro's face was pale, as if he could already feel the aura of death. His face was even uglier than crying. Boom! Suddenly, a loud sound came from the front. It seemed to be the sound of fighting. The 3 of them trembled and said, "Chase after them, they've met an enemy." Tang Zheng and his group had indeed met an enemy. Demonic beasts, a group of demonic beasts. Tang Zheng clearly remembered that the last time he came to the forbidden grounds, there were not so many demonic beasts. However, this time, there were so many of them that it seemed as if there was no end to them. There were all kinds of demonic beasts in the horde of demonic beasts, and none of them were as weak as the demonic beasts they had met on the way. Every single one of them was emitting a powerful and terrifying aura. Charge forward, kill. Tang Zheng had already felt a strong killing intent from the group of demonic beasts, and without wasting any time, he immediately gave the order to attack. Boom! 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 The 4 symbols venerable ones rushed forward with large strides, completely ignoring the attacks of the demonic beasts. The attacks of the demonic beasts were like tickles to the 4 symbols venerable ones, and did not harm them at all. Yi Yuan, it's time to test your strength. Tang Zheng shouted loudly. Yi Yuan immediately replied, leaping up, he landed on the group of demonic beasts like a cannonball, and punched a demonic beast in the head. With a loud bang, the demonic beast's head exploded. Ha, satisfying. Yi Yuan shouted excitedly, and directly hugged one of the demonic beast's legs, and started to dance in a circle. Bang! 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 A few nearby demonic beasts were swept to the ground. At this moment, Yi Yuan's strength was completely displayed, and his might was extraordinary. However, there were simply too many demonic beasts. When one demonic beast fell, the other one took its place one after another. The corpse of the demonic beasts in Yi Yuan's hands had already exploded, turning into a mess of flesh and blood. Tang Zheng waved his war soul sword, and with every slash, a demonic beast's head would fly into the air. In an instant, the entire area seemed to have turned into hell, as many demonic beasts' corpses fell to the ground, but were trampled into minced meat by the other demonic beasts. With so many demonic beasts, every time they killed a demonic beast's inner core would drop out. However, they did not have the time to collect these demonic beasts' inner cores, because there were simply too many demonic beasts. This battlefield was like an azure field, and amongst them, the attacks of the four symbols' venerable ones were the most terrifying. Although it was unable to make overly complicated moves, with its huge body, a simple lifting of its leg or sweeping of its arm would cause the demonic beasts to explode into a bloody mist as long as the demonic beasts were hit. Demon God and the other two watched with trepidation. Sawada Ichiro said with lingering fear, "Fortunately, we have them as our vanguard. Otherwise, we would be in deep trouble." Lewis looked at the group of demonic beasts and asked suspiciously, "Why are there so many demonic beasts here? What exactly is this place?" This was exactly what the demon god was thinking. When he saw this group of demonic beasts, his expression was extremely solemn. Before the demon race had been banished to the sky beyond heaven, even in the sky beyond heaven, he had fought Yao Feng. However, he had never faced so many demonic beasts at once. This place seemed to have become the lair of the demonic beasts, endless. In addition, the deeper he went into the forbidden area, the stronger the pressure in his heart became. There was even a faint sense of fear, as if there was some powerful existence in front of him that made him feel uneasy. What exactly is in front of us? What is the purpose of Tang Zheng trespassing in this place? The demon god was puzzled, but he had no way to retreat. He could only follow closely behind. Tang Zheng and Yi Yuan killed in all directions, but the number of demonic beasts did not decrease. Instead, it increased, and there were even angry roars from the demonic beasts in the distance, causing the ground to shake, as if there were countless demonic beasts rushing over. Tang Zheng frowned, and thought to himself, "The last time I came here, I also met demonic beasts, but there weren't so many of them. Why are there so many of them this time? What exactly is going on?" Seeing that there were so many demonic beasts that they could not kill with their strength, he decided not to waste his energy. This was because he did not know what dangers there were in the prehistoric heavenly tomb, so he had to preserve his strength. "Yi Yuan, climb onto the guardian god's body. Let's rush over." Tang Zheng shouted, then with a flash of white, the heaven horse carried him and rushed to the feet of the four symbols venerable. The demonic beasts surged forward like a tide. Xiao Bai spat out fire from her small mouth, the flames spread all around, and many demonic beasts died in the sea of fire. The four symbols venerable suddenly bent down and extended his palm, lifting the heaven horse and Tang Zheng into his palm. Yi Yuan also leaped up, following the four symbols venerable's leg and jumping onto its arm. "Let's go, charge forward." The war soul sword in Tang Zheng's hand pointed forward, and the four symbols venerable charged towards the direction of the prehistoric heavenly tomb without a care for its own safety, and the demonic beasts became its stepping stones one after another. Seeing the tall figure disappear into the distance, the demon god and the other two were dumbstruck. They did not expect Tang Zheng and the others to leave just like that. Originally, they wanted to pick up the scraps, but now they realized that they did not have the chance to do so. Tang Zheng and the others had left. If they wanted to catch up, they would have to pass through this huge group of demonic beasts. They had already witnessed the power of the demonic beasts. If they rushed over like this, wouldn't they be courting death? Lewis and Sawada Ichiro looked at each other in dismay, speechless. Then, they looked at the demon god at the same time, letting him make a decision. The demon god looked in the direction where the four symbols venerable had disappeared and said resolutely, "Chase." With that, he leaped forward and rushed out. When the group of demonic beasts saw him, they rushed over like a tide. Lewis and Zai Tian Ichiro had bitter expressions on their faces. In the end, they shook their heads and sighed, and had no choice but to rush forward. In an instant, the three of them were surrounded by the demonic beasts, and a fierce battle started again. This battle was even more tragic than before, because they did not have a helper like the four symbols venerable, so in the end, the three of them were already injured. Let's go through the air. Seeing that he could not break out of the encirclement, the demon god flashed with a red light and rode the blood blade into the air. Master, save me! Sawada Ichiro shouted in panic. The demon god casually pulled him up and flew into the air. Louis also transformed into wings and soared into the air. Whoosh whoosh suddenly, a black mass of shadows flew over from the horizon, and many bird demons pounced on them. The three of them had ashen faces. They did not expect that after dodging the attack from the ground, the attack from the sky would come again. Chapter 407. The demon god and the rest were entangled by the bird demons. There was no way out for them, and the situation was grim. Please copy this address to your browser. The first three people had no other choice but to fight a bloody battle. Tang Zheng and his group finally broke out of the encirclement of the demonic beasts S. When they stepped into the prehistoric Heavenly Tombs territory, the demonic beasts S all stopped at the same time, and kept roaring at them. Tang Zheng and Yi Yuan jumped down from the four symbols venerable's body, and heaved a sigh of relief. These demonic beasts S were truly troublesome, and they had finally gotten rid of them. Lord Envoy, is this the prehistoric Heavenly Tomb you were talking about? Yi Yuan looked curiously at the gray sky and the many tombstones in front of him. Although it was broad daylight, the prehistoric Heavenly Tomb was still covered in a gray mist. One could not see far, the gloomy aura was dense, and the cold wind howled angrily, causing one to shudder in fear. Tang Zheng nodded. Yes, there are many dangers here, you must be careful. As soon as he finished speaking, he heard a furious roar coming from afar. Tang Zheng was shocked, and said, let's go and take a look, what's going on? The two of them quickly rushed towards the direction of the voice. After passing through the tombstones, they arrived in front of a lake. The lake was as black as ink, and the lake water was like ink, emitting a dense cold aura. On the surface of the lake, there was a person who was constantly flashing. Her figure was erratic. She had an iron bow in her hand, and she was constantly pulling the bowstring. The sharp arrows seemed to have grown eyes as they danced and shot out under her control, splashing out streams of blood. Her enemy was a three-headed snake with a single horn on each of its heads. Its entire body was covered in black scales, and each scale was the size of a palm, suffused with a black luster. This was no longer a snake, but a flood dragon, a three-headed flood dragon. The three-headed flood dragon's body sank into the lake, revealing only 3 heads. However, just these 3 heads were enough to cause that person to be in a sorry state. Although she had a bow and arrow in her hand, she did not injure the three-headed flood dragon's foundation. She was already in a sorry state, gasping for breath and sweating profusely. It was obvious that she was on the verge of exhaustion, and her body was covered in wounds. Her outer clothes had already become tattered, revealing her underwear. Her underwear was very unique. It was milky white and tightly wrapped around her body. It set off her exquisite figure incisively and vividly. Li Xiaotian, Heavenly Silkworm Armor. Tang Zheng was shocked. This person was actually Li Xiaotian, and that white underwear was the invulnerable Heavenly Silkworm Armor. Ever since the two of them parted ways in South Yunnan, Li Xiaotian had disappeared without a trace. Who would have thought that he would actually barge into the prehistoric Heavenly Tomb by himself? What was she doing here? Li Xiaotian had already discovered Tang Zheng and his companion. Especially when he saw the giant-like 4 symbols venerable, he was so shocked that his jaw almost dropped. His heart wavered, and in a moment of carelessness, he was knocked into the lake by the three-headed flood dragon. He was battered and exhausted. Tang Zheng, what are you looking at? Hurry up and help me kill this damned monster. Li Xiaotian shouted loudly. Master Hu Shui was on her body, and the heavenly silkworm treasure armor was even more tightly attached to her body. Her graceful figure was completely exposed. Why did you come here? Tang Zheng glanced at her body, and immediately calmed himself down. He was not in a hurry to take action, and instead asked first. "This isn't your home, why can't I come?" Li Xiaotian said snappily. "Is that so? If you don't answer my question honestly, I won't save you. The two of us don't seem to have such a good relationship," Tang Zheng purposely said with a straight face. "Tang Zheng, consider yourself ruthless. Alright, I'll say it. My heaven-shocking bow was snatched away by you, and I can't beat you, so I can't take back the heaven-shocking bow, so I can only take another risk and come to the prehistoric heavenly tomb to see if there are any other treasures," Li Xiaotian said in a flustered and exasperated manner. She had really suffered a lot this time. Just the horde of demonic beasts outside the prehistoric heavenly tomb had almost caused her to lose her life. In the end, she was lucky enough to escape, but she did not expect to meet this three-headed dragon while searching for treasures. On the verge of death, when she saw Tang Zheng, it was as if she had seen the dawn. "You're quite gutsy." Tang Zheng laughed, and with a leap, he rushed towards the three-headed dragon, and with a shwa sound, he slashed the three-headed dragon's body, causing blood to spurt out. The three-headed dragon let out a furious roar, and immediately gave up on Li Xiaotian, and bit towards Tang Zheng. Tang Zheng held the treasure sword in his hand and used the heaven-flying immortal sword technique. Sword light filled the sky, and in the blink of an eye, the three-headed dragon was enveloped in the sword light. The sword light landed on the steel-like scales, causing sparks to fly out, and traces of blood seeped out, dyeing the ink-like lake red. Crash! Suddenly, the sound of water came out, and a huge body rushed out from the lake. A dragon tail rushed out of the water, and directly whipped towards Tang Zheng. Whoosh! Tang Zheng quickly dodged, and the dragon tail whipped on the surface of the lake. With a hong sound, the lake water was directly split into two sides, and the whole picture of the bottom of the lake was revealed. The whole bottom of the lake was pitch black, and it was actually the three-headed dragon's coiled body. No wonder it only used its head to attack, because its body was too huge, and completely occupied the whole lake. Tang Zheng roughly glanced at it, and felt his whole body go cold. This was a super demon beast, and it was very similar to the giant demon beasts in the memory fragments. Seeing that Tang Zheng had dodged the attack, the three-headed dragon vigorously chased after him, and its huge body gradually swam at the bottom of the lake, causing the lake water to tumble, as if it was boiling. The three heads of the three-headed dragon slowly rose into the air, and its round body with a diameter of 3 meters was also revealed. In a short while, the three-headed dragon had risen dozens of meters in the air, but a part of its body was still entrenched at the bottom of the lake. It could be seen how powerful this giant demon beast was. The three-headed dragon opened its 3 big eyes and looked down at the crowd. Its eyes were filled with an ominous glint as it spoke in human language, "Humans, all of you must die." With that, its huge body swooped down, and its 3 big mouths opened wide, trying their best to bite towards Tang Zheng, Li Xiaotian, and Yi Yuan. "Retreat!" Tang Zheng shouted loudly, and the 3 of them retreated at the same time, but the three-headed dragon's speed was very fast, like a bolt of lightning streaking across the sky. It arrived in front of the 3 of them in an instant. "Kill!" Tang Zheng shouted, and directly slashed towards the bloody mouth. Li Xiaotian also drew his bow and arrow, while Yi Yuan waved the fist in his hand. Boom! 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 The attacks of the 3 only caused a bit of blood to splash out, but the three-headed dragon still dashed forward to bite it. When Yi Yuan's fist landed on its body, it only lost a few scales, but with a tilt of its head, it actually swallowed Yi Yuan whole. No! Tang Zheng immediately rushed over to save him, but was swept by the three-headed dragon's tail, blocking his path. Tang Zheng took out his heaven-shocking bow and shot out his sword. Puff! A snowflake immediately flew up from the dragon's tail, opening up a bloody hole. The three-headed dragon started to twist and turn in pain, while Tang Zheng took the opportunity to jump onto the head of the three-headed dragon that had swallowed Yi Yuan, and shot an arrow into its neck. Ka-cha! A huge and sinister head flew in the air, its neck broken. Tang Zheng once again split open the head with his sword, and finally saved Yi Yuan. Yi Yuan's face was pale white, his entire body was covered in sticky liquid. He took a deep breath, and said with lingering fear, "It was too dangerous, I was almost swallowed by it. Fortunately, I'm fine." Tang Zheng heaved a sigh of relief. "I want to kill all of you." The three-headed dragon roared, its huge body curled up, and with a thunderous sound, it directly surrounded Tang Zheng. Then, it quickly shrank, and in an instant, it wrapped Tang Zheng up tightly. Tang Zheng felt a terrifying force pressing down on him from all directions, as if all the bones in his body were about to shatter. Li Xiaotian was so scared that his face turned ashen, and shouted, "Tang Zheng, quickly escape." Tang Zheng clenched his teeth, he could not hold on any longer, and shouted, "For symbols venerable, do it." Boom! With a loud sound, the four symbols venerable finally took a step forward and stepped into the lake. With a sweep of his arm, the three-headed dragon's body was swept away. The three-headed dragon's entire body trembled, and it couldn't help but let go of Tang Zheng. Tang Zheng escaped, and immediately jumped onto the body of the four symbols venerable, and drilled into its chest. Li Xiaotian watched as Tang Zheng disappeared into the chest of the four symbols venerable, and was dumbstruck. What's going on? Yi Yuan glanced at her complacently, and said, "Next, you should admire the might of the Lord Envoy and the Guardian God." Boom! As soon as he finished speaking, the four symbols venerable had already clenched his fists, and with a loud boom, he smashed them towards the three-headed dragon. "What is this?" The three-headed dragon turned pale with fright, and immediately swung its tail to welcome the attack. The sound of the collision was like a clap of thunder, causing the ground to shake, and the lake water to stir up huge waves. Li Xiaotian and Yi Yuan stood by the lake and swayed, almost falling to the ground. How could it be so powerful? Li Xiaotian was flabbergasted, he never thought that the power of this attack would have such an effect. The three-headed flood dragon fell back into the lake with a loud boom. The four symbols venerable quickly caught up, grabbing one of its heads and twisting it. The three-headed flood dragon let out a sharp cry, its eyeballs almost popping out of their sockets. "No!" The three-headed dragon let out a heart-wrenching scream. However, with a poochie sound, a head was directly twisted off by the four symbols venerable. Blood spurted out like a fountain, almost dyeing the entire lake red. Insignificant skill. Tang Zheng's voice came out from the body of the four symbols venerable, filled with killing intent. "I will perish together with you." The three-headed flood dragon roared, and its huge body immediately wrapped around the four symbols venerable's two legs. It quickly coiled around its body, and in the blink of an eye, it was completely wrapped up. A powerful strangling force erupted. Ka ka ka. The four symbols venerable's body emitted a series of muffled sounds, as if it was about to fall apart. "Ha, let's see how you're going to fight me." The three-headed dragon let out a complacent and sinister laugh as it pounced towards the head of the four symbols venerable. "Ah, what should we do?" Li Xiaotian screamed in shock. However, Yi Yuan was calm and composed. "Look carefully, the guardian god will be fine, don't make a fuss." Bang bang bang. As if to confirm his judgment, the three-headed dragon's body exploded into a bloody mist, and a terrifying force directly broke its body. The four symbols venerable broke free, and with lightning speed, he grabbed the 7 inches of its only head. With a bang, its head exploded, filling the sky with a bloody mist. The three-headed dragon's corpse fell limply into the lake, but with a flash of light, a huge, sparkling and translucent pearl slowly rose from its corpse. Chapter 408. A Demonic Beast's Core. Tang Zheng stared at the sparkling and translucent pearl and cried out in surprise. Please copy this address to your browser to see this demonic beast's core was not something ordinary demonic beasts could compare to. Even though Tang Zheng was still inside the four symbols honored beast's body, he could still feel the surging power within the core. He hurriedly left the four symbols honored beast's body and leaped into the air, catching the core and jumping to the shore. This is a demonic beast's core. What use does it have? Li Xiaotian curiously moved closer. It's useless to you, but it's very useful to me. Tang Zheng smiled mysteriously. The demonic beast's core contained powerful energy that could help him increase his cultivation. If you don't want to tell me, then don't tell me. Why are you being so mysterious? Li Xiaotian curled her lips and her gaze quickly locked onto the four symbols honored beast. What exactly is this thing? Why is it so powerful? It only took a few moves to finish off that monster. This is called the four symbols honored beast. It only listens to my orders. Now you know how powerful I am. Tang Zheng said proudly. Li Xiaotian's eyes widened and she cried out in surprise, it only listens to your orders. How did you do it? Tang Zheng smiled mysteriously and did not answer her. Li Xiaotian was deeply shocked. She had been in contact with Tang Zheng for quite some time. She had witnessed Tang Zheng's strength step by step, especially after seeing the power of the four symbols honored beast. Her heart was about to jump out of her throat. Tang Zheng has the four symbols honored beast. It's like adding wings to a tiger. Even a martial arts great master might not be able to do anything to him. No wonder after his identity was exposed, he was still fearless and did not panic. Li Xiaotian thought silently and her expression became serious. Weren't you looking for treasure? Did you find it? Tang Zheng broke the silence when he saw that she was silent. At the mention of this, Li Xiaotian couldn't help but get angry. You still have the nerve to ask me? If it weren't for you, would I take the risk to come to this damned place? I almost died just now, and it was all because of you. I just saved you, and you're biting back at your savior so soon. That's too unkind of you, Tang Zheng said with a straight face. If you give me the heaven-shocking bow, then we'll be even. Li Xiaotian said, unwilling to give up. No way. Tang Zheng did not waste any words with her, and directly rejected her. However, since you have already come to the prehistoric heavenly tomb, then continue searching. Although this place is very dangerous, it is indeed a treasure trove. Who knows, you might be able to find a treasure that suits you. Then don't steal from me anymore. Li Xiaotian said cautiously. Am I such a shameless person? Tang Zheng rolled his eyes. You are. Li Xiaotian said angrily. Walala. Just as Tang Zheng was about to refute her, he saw the lake water boil, and the ink-like lake water started to churn violently. What's going on? Tang Zheng and the other two were all extremely surprised. The lake water was evaporating at a speed visible to the naked eye, and the clouds in the sky turned black because of the steam. The sky became even darker. Hiss. The last bit of the lake water evaporated, revealing the entire bottom of the lake. Li Xiaotian pointed to a bulge in the middle of the lake and shouted, Look, what is that? This was a hemispherical bulge, and the three-headed flood dragon seemed to be occupying it. If not for the four symbols venerable, the three-headed flood dragon would definitely not have left that hemisphere. Tang Zheng's heart moved, he subconsciously thought that it must be something unusual, so he walked over with large strides. With a light tap of his feet, he swept across the mud at the bottom of the lake as if he was walking on flat ground. He stood on top of the hemisphere and stepped on it. It was obvious that it was hollow. There's something down there. Tang Zheng asserted. Zhi. Xiao Bai jumped down from Tang Zheng's shoulder and also jumped up and down on the hemisphere, constantly pointing at the ground. Seeing this, Tang Zheng was even more certain that this hemisphere was not ordinary, so he no longer hesitated and pulled out the War Soul sword, and with a kacha, slashed at the hemisphere. Boom! The hemisphere collapsed, revealing an entrance. Below the entrance was a flight of stairs, and below the stairs seemed to be a faint light emitting out. Let's go down and take a look. The three of them walked down the stairs, and the light became brighter and brighter. Suddenly, Xiao Bai jumped down from Tang Zheng's shoulder and quickly jumped down the stairs. "Xiao Bai, don't run around," Tang Zheng hurriedly shouted. However, Xiao Bai was abnormally excited, and actually did not listen to his summons, and disappeared in the blink of an eye. "Hurry up!" Tang Zheng was afraid that Xiao Bai would be in danger, and hurriedly chased after him. The stairs were very long, as if there was no end, and no one knew where it led to. Tang Zheng did not know how deep he was from the ground, but it was definitely very deep underground. What could be in such a secretive place? The light in front of them suddenly intensified. It was a red light that dyed the stairs red, giving off a gloomy and terrifying feeling. At the end of the stairs, their eyes suddenly opened up. The three of them subconsciously stopped and stared at the source of the light in a daze. Even though Tang Zheng had a rich imagination and was knowledgeable, he was still shocked by this scene. The source of the red light was actually a heart. The heart was crystal clear, and every blood vessel was clearly visible. Moreover, there was still blood flowing inside. Thump, 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 the heart beat with a strong rhythm, showing the vigorous strength of the heart. This heart was actually alive. Xiao Bai stood directly below the heart, looked up at the heart in a daze, and licked its lips. Tang Zheng was shocked, and suddenly remembered the scene when it swallowed the blood essence of the Beast King. Could it be that it wanted to do the same thing and swallow this heart? Squeak squeak. Xiao Bai looked at Tang Zheng, then pointed at the heart and cried out. Tang Zheng did not understand what it meant, and asked blankly, "Xiao Bai, what do you want to do?" Seeing that Tang Zheng did not understand its intentions, Xiao Bai was so anxious that it kept jumping up and down, and kept pointing at the heart. "Stop fooling around, let's figure out what this thing is first," Tang Zheng said, looking around. This was a stone house with a hemispherical roof, and a mural was carved on the roof. Li Xiaotian also looked up, and said doubtfully, "This mural seems to depict a war." "Yes, it is a war," Tang Zheng said. Although the lines of the mural were very rough, they could still clearly distinguish the extraordinary strength of the two sides of the battle. On one side, there were many people, and there were also many monsters, and the monsters were very tall, but there was one person on this side that was the most conspicuous. This person seemed to be the leader, and he held a long spear. With a sweep of his spear, a large number of enemies were beheaded, and its power was boundless. The other side was not weak, and there was a group of giants that were very eye-catching. These giants were as big as the monsters. However, the leader of these people was also very dazzling. His whole body was shrouded in light, like a god, and he held a huge sword in his hand, mighty and extraordinary. The two leaders fought fiercely, and it was earth-shattering, as if the world was about to be destroyed by these two people. In the end, the leader with the long spear had his heart cut open by the enemy's sword, and a bright red heart soared into the sky. The battle came to an abrupt end, and the victor was decided. Could the heart that flew into the sky in the mural be the heart in front of us? Li Xiaotian also roughly saw the contents of the mural, and exclaimed. "Definitely," Tang Zheng asserted. "Many years must have passed since this war. Why is this heart still beating? Also, who are the two sides of this battle?" Li Xiaotian asked like a cannonball. "If you ask me, who should I ask?" Tang Zheng rolled his eyes. "Lord Envoy, I feel that there is an indescribable power in this heart. This power seems to be enough to destroy the heavens and the earth," Yi Yuan said after a long silence. Tang Zheng nodded, he also had the same feeling. "You're saying that just this heart alone has the power to destroy the heavens and the earth?" Li Xiaotian asked in shock. Seeing that the two of them were silent, it was obvious that they had tacitly agreed. She continued, "Then this heart should not exist in this world. Otherwise, if this world was destroyed by it, wouldn't that be terrible? After so many years, it is still intact. What ability do we have to destroy it?" Tang Zheng laughed bitterly. Even the victors of that war were unable to destroy this heart, so what ability did they have to do this? "We can't just do nothing. This is a potential threat, Li Xiaotian said. Tang Jing approached his heart step by step, the veins on his blood vessels becoming clearer and clearer. He reached out his hand to touch it, but Yi Yuan immediately stopped him. Lord Envoy, this thing's origin is unknown, and it's not simple either. It's best not to act rashly. Tang Zheng paused for a moment, then shook his head. Since I've seen it, I can't possibly do nothing and return the way I came. With that, he reached out a finger and touched his heart. The power of the heartbeat bounced off his finger, giving him a strong feeling of power. Nothing happened. Tang Zheng heaved a sigh of relief. He had thought that something would happen, so his entire body tensed up, and he activated his innate qi to protect all the acupoints in his body. The other two looked at him nervously. Seeing that it was a false alarm, the two of them heaved a sigh of relief at the same time. Tang Zheng, on the other hand, extended his fingers and grabbed his heart. Suddenly, a strange change occurred. Blood flowed out from his heart, quickly covering Tang Zheng's palm and spreading along his arm towards his heart. This blood was like a slender little snake, incomparably terrifying. Lord Envoy, it's dangerous. Hurry up and throw it away. Yi Yuan shouted in panic. Tang Zheng quickly threw the heart to the ground, only to discover that the heart was firmly stuck to his palm, as if it had taken root. What's going on? A sense of fear also rose in Tang Zheng's heart. He knew very well that this heart was not a good thing, and since it had mutated, it was probably not a good thing. Lord Envoy, I'll help you. Seeing that, Yi Yuan grabbed onto his heart without caring about his own safety, wanting to tear it off from Tang Zheng's palm. Bang! A surge of rebounding force directly blasted Yi Yuan away, causing him to crash into the stone wall, giving him the illusion that his body was about to fall apart. Li Xiaotian, quickly save Lord Envoy. Yi Yuan did not care about the pain and shouted loudly. Li Xiaotian hesitated for a moment. Just as he was about to make a move, he saw an earth-shattering red light being emitted from his heart, instantly enveloping Tang Zheng. Chapter 409. Yi Yuan and Li Xiaotian cried out in alarm at the same time. This scene was truly out of their expectations, and the two of them did not know what to do. Please copy this address to the browser to see the first page. Tang Zheng was also unable to speak at the moment. He was controlled by a powerful force, and when the red light enveloped him, he was unable to move his entire body. The small snake-like blood quickly covered his entire body, as if adding a layer of outer clothing to him. Every inch of his meridians was corroded, and his brows immediately furrowed, revealing a pained expression, but he was unable to make a sound. My body feels like it's about to be devoured. This heart actually has such a strong power. What should I do now? Tang Zheng thought in panic. Bang, 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 the heart continued to beat in his palm. Every time it beat, Tang Zheng felt as if his heart had been struck by a heavy hammer. His heart violently contracted and expanded, as if it could explode at any time. No, I have to fight back. I can't die like this. He desperately urged the innate qi to fight against this terrifying power, but it was to no avail. The heartbeat rate of the heart became faster and faster, and Tang Zheng discovered that his own heartbeat had also suddenly sped up, as if it was about to jump out of his chest. He did not admit defeat just like that. He immediately activated the ancient Clear Heaven scroll, and with a boom, it was as if a dam had burst. The pure yang energy exploded, and his blood started to boil. The heartbeat slowed down. Tang Zheng was shocked. The pure yang energy that had been bothering him had actually alleviated his crisis, and he felt that the pain in his entire body had lessened by quite a bit. Seeing that the pure yang energy had such a miraculous use, he did not care about the danger of the pure yang energy exploding his body and dying. He continued to circulate the ancient Clear Heaven scroll. The innate qi became more and more, and the pure yang energy also became more and more. All the pure yang energy in his body was mobilized, and finally, his heart returned to its normal beating rate. The mysterious heart in his hand was still beating violently, but Tang Zheng's heartbeat could not stop, and did not increase at all. As if the mysterious heart was unwilling, the red light suddenly shone brightly, and the mysterious heart quickly shrank, finally disappearing into Tang Zheng's palm. Hey, where did it go? Not long after, he found where the mysterious heart had gone. It had actually entered Tang Zheng's body, going all the way up from his arm to where his heart was. What is it trying to do? Tang Zheng was extremely nervous. This heart was too strange. It actually ran into his body. Before he could react, the mysterious heart suddenly enlarged. Tang Zheng felt like his chest was about to explode. He opened his mouth wide, but no sound came out. Many tentacles grew out of the mysterious heart and immediately attached themselves to Tang Zheng's heart. In an instant, Tang Zheng felt an unbearable stabbing pain in his heart. He finally let out a mournful scream as his body trembled uncontrollably. The mysterious tentacle drilled into Tang Zheng's heart. Then, with a flash of red light, Tang Zheng's heart disappeared. No, it didn't disappear. To be more precise, it was devoured by the mysterious heart. The heart swallowed the heart and replaced it. Tang Zheng felt like he was going to die for a moment, and his soul was about to leave his scabbard. But in the next moment, he came back to life, but he had already discovered that his heart was gone, and what was beating now was that mysterious heart. Tang Zheng was flabbergasted, and staggered back. Hey, I've regained my ability to move again. The red light on his body had already disappeared, and the stone house suddenly darkened. Li Xiaotian and Yi Yuan could not see clearly what had happened, and immediately asked, Tang Zheng, what happened to you? Tang Zheng did not feel any discomfort in his body. Instead, he felt refreshed, and the pain from before had completely disappeared. Hearing their questions, he replied, I'm fine, don't worry. As he spoke, he pointed his finger in the air. With a swoosh, a ball of flame ignited in the air. My casting speed seems to have increased. Tang Zheng could clearly feel the subtle difference. With a thought, the true fire started to burn, and its reaction speed was much faster than before. Looking at the flames that had appeared out of nowhere, Li Xiaotian was already used to it, and immediately asked, what exactly happened? Where's the heart, where did it go? Tang Zheng pointed to his chest and said, Here. It went into your body. Li Xiaotian was in disbelief, and Yi Yuan also opened his mouth wide in shock. Lord Envoy, is this dangerous? What exactly is the origin of that heart? Tang Zheng shook his head blankly. He could not guess the origin of this heart, and said, I don't know either, let's take one step at a time. Zhi. Xiao Bai suddenly jumped up from the ground and stood on Tang Zheng's shoulder, grinning happily. Seeing the little guy's complacent look, Tang Zheng's heart moved. Xiao Bai was quite mysterious. Since it was not worried, it meant that the heart was not harmful to him, only beneficial. However, he was not sure what benefits there were right now, so he could only slowly explore it in the future. Rumble. Suddenly, the sky and earth shook, and the stone house began to shake violently. What's wrong? Could it be an earthquake? Li Xiaotian cried out in alarm. The three of them were almost unable to stand steadily, and the ground began to shake violently. Let's go, it's dangerous here. It seems like it's going to collapse. Tang Zheng brought up the rear, while Li Xiaotian took the lead and rushed to the front. This was deep underground. If there really was an earthquake, then they would be buried alive. The three of them were very fast, rushing out like lightning. When they rushed out of the bottom of the lake and saw the pitch-black sky, the three of them finally heaved a sigh of relief. Boom! With an earth-shattering explosion, the location of the lake completely collapsed, revealing a bottomless hole with a diameter of over 1,000 meters. However, the rest of the place was intact. The three of them stared at the big hole with their mouths agape. Li Xiaotian looked at Tang Zheng with a complicated expression, and said, Do you think it's because you took away that mysterious heart that this place collapsed? Tang Zheng laughed bitterly and shook his head. This prehistoric heavenly tomb was too mysterious, his little bit of knowledge was not enough to use. Let's hurry up and leave. With such a big commotion here, don't attract any dangerous enemies. Tang Zheng urged. Long after the three of them and the four divine beasts who had been waiting outside had left, three figures appeared at the entrance of the cave. The three of them were in a very sorry state. They were none other than the demon god and the other two. However, all three of them were wounded, especially Sawada Ichiro. His left arm was wrapped in rags, and his face was pale with blood. Lewis looked at the black hole and asked, "What happened here?" The demon god muttered to himself, "We were a step too late, but I felt that something very powerful appeared just now." However, it quickly disappeared, and the aura that flashed by just now was extremely terrifying. "Do you think that kid Tang Zheng came here just now?" Sawada Ichiro gritted his teeth and said. He hated Tang Zheng to the core, and was also extremely regretful. "Why did he come to Huaxia? Let's go, something seems to be coming." The demon god suddenly looked into the distance. Although he could not see clearly in the darkness, his intuition told him that he was in danger. In the past, the demon god was extremely confident and felt that with his cultivation, he could be considered invincible in the world. However, after coming to the Forbidden Grounds, he realized that his thoughts were too simple. Although the cultivators of this world had been expelled, for some reason, there were many things that were beyond common sense that seriously threatened his safety. The three of them ran for their lives. After running for a long time, they heard a roar coming from the direction of the black hole. This sound was mixed with anger and made them shudder. "What is roaring?" Lewis asked with fear and trepidation. His previous refined self-confidence had disappeared. Since coming to the 100,000 mountains, he realized that he was a frog at the bottom of the well. No wonder countless powers in the world coveted this country. This country's heritage was really unimaginable. No wonder it was called the mysterious Oriental Pearl. However, these difficulties and obstacles did not make Lewis retreat. Instead, they strengthened his belief that the Rockefeller family must occupy this mysterious land. The demon god's expression was very gloomy and dignified. He looked into the distance and said, "Let's go, listening to this roar, the other party's strength is very strong. We'd better avoid it and find that kid Tang Zheng first." Bang! They had just taken a few steps when Sawada Ichiro was accidentally tripped by something. He fell in a sorry state and grimaced in pain. "What the hell is this?" He struggled to get up, and the flashlight in his hand shone on the ground. Suddenly, he shuddered. Dead people. The demonic god and Lewis also stopped in their tracks and came over. They said, "It's a corpse. Don't be afraid." Lewis kicked the corpse over, revealing its face. "Ah!" Sawada Ichiro screamed. "What are you doing? Why are you yelling? Are you trying to attract the enemy?" The demon god slapped his head and reprimanded him. "Master, I didn't mean that. This corpse." Sawada Ichiro's face was pale as he looked at the corpse's face in disbelief. This corpse was well preserved and did not rot. In fact, this was because the yin energy in the prehistoric heavenly tomb was dense, so the corpse did not rot easily. "What's wrong with this corpse?" Seeing Sawada Ichiro's expression, the demon god and Lewis were very curious. "This is my corpse, Yamamoto's subordinate. They came to Huaxia a while ago and disappeared in the end. I didn't expect them to come here." Originally, Sawada Ichiro still had a glimmer of hope, thinking that his junior brother was definitely still alive in this world. However, after confirming that the other party was here, he instantly lost all hope. "Why is your junior brother here?" Lewis asked curiously. Sawada Ichiro laughed bitterly. "I also just received some news recently. It seems like he found some clues to a treasure, so he must have come to explore. I didn't expect them to come here." This means that your junior brother's clue is correct. Although this place is strange, I can confirm that there are treasures here. Hee, it's just that most people can only die. How could they have the chance to obtain treasures? The demon god said in disdain. "Ha, I finally guessed the purpose of that brat Tang Zheng coming here. He definitely knows that there are treasures here, so he came here specifically for them. Humph, brat, how can I let you succeed? All the treasures are mine. The demon god's eyes flickered with a cold light as he muttered to himself. Chapter 410. Tang Zheng and the other two did not know that the demon god was following them, and they had already arrived in front of a dark house. Li Xiaotian looked at the black house with a complicated gaze, and asked, "What are you doing here again?" Tang Zheng was well aware of her complicated feelings. The heaven-shocking bow was discovered by her here, but in the end, it did not fall into her hands. Please copy this address to your browser to see the first page. Didn't you hear from the demon god that the heaven-shocking bow is still lacking sun-shooting arrows? Since you found the heaven-shocking bow here, maybe the sun-shooting arrows are here as well, so I'm going to look for them again. Tang Zheng said. Li Xiaotian's eyes lit up, thinking to himself, why didn't I think of this? Previously, I was running around like a headless fly, so I should have come here to take a look first. Now that Tang Zheng was here, even if he found the sun-shooting arrows, he wouldn't have a share. Her face became ugly as she glared at Tang Zheng and said, if I find the sun-shooting arrows later, you can't snatch it anymore. Tang Zheng smiled noncommittally, let's find it first. No, I have to make things clear first. I can't beat you right now, so how can I not make things clear first? Moreover, you see that I'm just a weak girl, do you have the nerve to bully me? As she said that, Li Xiaotian stared at Tang Zheng with her big watery eyes, looking pitifully at him. Stop. You don't have to use a beauty trap on me, it's useless, who doesn't know how powerful you are? If you're still a weak girl, then there's no one in this world who isn't a weak girl. Tang Zheng said. Li Xiaotian chuckled, and said, so I'm actually so powerful in your eyes, you flatter me. Seeing that Tang Zheng did not promise her, she had no other choice. Creak. The thick and heavy door was pushed open, and a wave of yin qi assaulted his face. The war soul sword in Tang Zheng's hand trembled, and crazily absorbed the yin qi between heaven and earth. Previously, the war soul sword and the war soul were injured in the battle, but ever since they entered the prehistoric heavenly tomb, they had absorbed a large amount of yin qi and had already recovered their strength. Ah Yuan, be careful. Tang Zheng warned as he crossed the threshold. Don't worry, Lord Envoy. Yi Yuan did not want to retreat, so he became extremely alert. The first thing he saw was an empty hall. The moonlight shone down from the sky, and the light in the hall was very dim. However, he could still clearly see the 3 coffins in the center of the hall. As soon as the 3 of them stepped into the hall, the coffin shook violently. Then, with 3 banging sounds, the coffin lid flew up, blocking their path. The 3 of them reacted very quickly. They tapped their toes on the coffin lid and flipped over. The situation inside the coffin lid immediately entered their eyes. The 3 zombies stood up straight from their coffins and attacked the 3 of them with their arms. Tang Zheng and Li Xiaotian had fought zombies before, so they knew how powerful they were. Therefore, with a flash of cold light, Li Xiaotian had already pulled the bowstring of his iron bow. Clang! A sharp arrow hit the zombie's chest, but the sound of metal hitting metal was heard. The zombie was unharmed. Li Xiaotian was shocked. Last time, she had directly chopped off the head of a zombie, but this time, even the arrows could not penetrate their bodies. In addition, she also realized something else. Back then, she had chopped off the head of a zombie, and there were only 2 zombies left. But now, there were still 3 zombies. Could it be that even if these zombies had their heads chopped off, they would still come back to life? Furthermore, the zombie had evolved, and its strength had increased by a level. She couldn't help but feel a little lucky. Fortunately, she didn't barge into this place alone. Otherwise, it would be troublesome to be entangled by these 3 fellows. The zombie took a hit and was safe and sound. Its withered arm directly pierced towards Li Xiaotian like a spear. Bang! Li Xiaotian stepped on the zombie's head and rolled backwards in the air. However, the zombie's movements were very fast, and it attacked like a shadow. Seeing that the zombie was about to stab into her chest, she cried out in fear. "Xiao Bai, help her!" Tang Zheng shouted. Xiao Bai opened her mouth and immediately spat out flames. Boom! A flame flashed in front of Li Xiaotian, and the zombie was immediately wrapped in flames. In an instant, it began to crackle and burn. The zombie let out a mournful scream, but it did not stop there. It continued to pounce towards Li Xiaotian. Ka-cha! With a crisp sound, Tang Zheng waved the war soul sword and cut off the zombie's neck. Its huge head fell to the ground and continued to burn. Li Xiaotian's expression was ugly. Her iron bow could not hurt the other party in the slightest, but the other party's head was easily chopped off by Tang Zheng's weapon. She stared blankly at the war soul sword. The sword was emitting a blazing black light. She could not help but feel a sense of powerlessness. Could it be that a martial artist was really so weak in front of a cultivator? She took a deep breath and stabilized her mind. However, she was even more determined to obtain a powerful weapon. With a divine weapon, her fighting strength would increase by leaps and bounds. Tang Zheng did not care about Li Xiaotian's thoughts. He waved the war soul sword and fought fiercely with another zombie. His strength was obviously higher than the zombie, and with the help of the war soul sword, not long later, the zombie was riddled with holes. Relying on the primal chaos golden body technique and his innate divine strength, Yi Yuan trembled with the remaining zombie. In the end, the two of them hugged each other and continuously used their fists to hit each other's bodies. Bang! 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 Ah Yuan, zombies are immortal, don't continue to fight with it. Tang Zheng shouted. He chopped off the head of the zombie in front of him, then flew in front of Yi Yuan and killed his opponent. Xiao Bai, burn them with fire. Tang Zheng ordered. The zombie from before had already been burned into flames, so this method was obviously the only way to completely kill them. Actually, Tang Zheng had also realized that the zombies had already evolved. Although he did not understand why, it was imperative for him to make a prompt decision to completely eliminate them. Li Xiaotian stared blankly at the zombie that had turned into ashes, then looked at Xiao Bai. He could not help but lower his head in dejection. He was actually inferior to a little fellow. He had spent so much effort to kill the zombie, but in the blink of an eye, it was burned to ashes by Xiao Bai. They won't come back to life now, right? Li Xiaotian asked in bewilderment. Definitely not. Tang Zheng replied, and walked straight towards the three coffins. Li Xiaotian suddenly realized something, and immediately pounced towards one of the coffins, afraid that Tang Zheng would discover the shooting sun arrow first. Why is there nothing in the coffin? The three of them were disappointed. After looking through the three coffins, they did not find anything. They were empty. Tang Zheng did not give up, and started to search other places in the house, but this house could be said to be empty, and there was nothing else. Let's go, there's no shooting sun arrow you're looking for. Li Xiaotian said in disappointment. Tang Zheng muttered to himself, thinking that the heaven-shocking bow and the shooting sun arrows were a set of weapons. Both of them were left behind by Ho Yi. They should not be kept separately, and the shooting sun arrows should be kept in this house. Seeing that Tang Zheng did not move at all, Li Xiaotian gloated and said, "Don't waste your time, hee, maybe the shooting sun arrows shouldn't be yours, it's useless even if you hope too much." Squeak squeak. Suddenly, Xiao Bai tilted his head and thought for a while. He sniffed hard with his little nose, then pointed at the coffin and shouted. "Xiao Bai, what's wrong?" Tang Zheng looked at it in confusion. Little White squeaked non-stop and gestured at the coffin with all its might. Tang Zheng's heart moved, and he rushed towards a coffin with large strides. Placing both of his hands on top of the coffin, he used all of his strength and pushed with all his might. Move. It was unknown what material this coffin was made of, but it was actually incomparably heavy. Seeing that, Yi Yuan also hurriedly helped, and the two of them used their strength at the same time. Creak creak. The coffin slid backwards bit by bit against the ground, revealing the floor beneath the coffin. This floor was very different from the other pitch-black floors, emitting a faint light. Li Xiaotian stared at the floor with her mouth agape. She immediately realized that there was something under the floor, and as expected, Tang Zheng slashed down with his sword, the floor shattered, and 3 arrows flew into the air. Tang Zheng reacted quickly and immediately grabbed the 3 arrows. The 3 arrows buzzed non-stop, as if they were alive. This is shooting sun arrows? Li Xiaotian said in a daze. Tang Zheng felt a surge of power coming from his hands. It was definitely extremely powerful. These 3 arrows were definitely shooting sun arrows without a doubt. Li Xiaotian immediately regained his senses and pounced towards the other coffin, using all of his strength to push the coffin, but the coffin creaked a few times, but did not move at all. Her strength was obviously not enough to push the coffin. Her face immediately became uglier than crying, while Tang Zheng and Yi Yuan looked at her with a smile that was not a smile. Continue, we're watching. Tang Zheng kept the shooting sun arrows into his sumaru bag and said with a smile. You all. Too shameless. You know that I'm a woman and don't have much strength, but you don't know how to help me? Li Xiaotian said without curiosity. If we have help, then the shooting sun arrows will be ours. No way. Li Xiaotian immediately hugged the coffin, like a tigress protecting her calf. The shooting sun arrows below are mine, no one can take them away. The key is, do you have any way to push open the coffin? Li Xiaotian bit his lips, speechless. Ah Yuan, let's push the other coffin. Tang Zheng called out, and together with Yi Yuan, they pushed open the other coffin, broke open the ground, and as expected, obtained 3 more shooting sun arrows. Without a doubt, there were definitely 3 shooting sun arrows under the last coffin. Back then, Hou Yi had shot down 9 golden crow, which meant that there were 9 shooting sun arrows. Li Xiaotian also thought of this point, and was even more unwilling to give up on the 3 shooting sun arrows, as he protected the coffin with all his might. You can't go on like this. In any case, with your own strength, you won't be able to push it away, and you won't be able to obtain the things below. Tang Zheng said. If I can't get it, I can't let you get it either. Li Xiaotian pouted and said in a fit of pique. Tang Zheng rolled his eyes. It seemed that this woman was still unable to let go of the heaven-shocking bow, but of course, he could not ignore the 3 shooting sun arrows. He had an idea, and said, I have a way. Chapter 411. What can you do? Li Xiaotian looked at him nervously, afraid that he would use force. In this place, she was not a match for Tang Zheng at all, and it was even more impossible for her to leave him. Otherwise, she would not be able to walk out of the prehistoric heavenly tomb, so she was especially concerned about Tang Zheng's attitude. Of course it's the best of both worlds. Tang Zheng said while beaming, let's split the shooting sun arrows below. You take one, I take the other 2. No, this is clearly mine. Why should I give it to you? Li Xiaotian said without hesitation. Tang Zheng shrugged his shoulders and said, since you don't agree, then you can continue hugging it. Let's see when you can obtain it. Li Xiaotian was speechless. This was the predicament she was facing. With her own strength, she could not even obtain a single shooting sun arrow. She hesitated for a moment, then said, I want 2 shooting sun arrows, I can only give you 1. Tang Zheng spread out his hands and said, then there's no way to talk about it, you can continue hugging it. Do you even have the slightest bit of a gentleman's style? How can you be so calculative with a woman like me? Li Xiaotian said snappily. You're not a woman in my eyes. Tang Zheng had long since experienced Li Xiaotian's black-bellied nature, and in the depths of his heart, he really did not treat her as a woman. Although she was beautiful, she was much more threatening than other men. She could not allow Tang Zheng to be careless in the slightest. Hearing that, Li Xiaotian could not help but feel angry, and said, am I not beautiful enough? Tang Zheng laughed, and said without answering the question, you should hurry up and make your decision, stop stalling for time, time baby, we still have other places to go. Li Xiaotian bit his lips, thinking in his heart, he had no choice but to lower his head under the eaves. He was not a match for Tang Zheng, and now he had to rely on him. If he pushed him too far, what if he killed him and stole it? After all, the shooting sun arrows were too powerful and tempting. Okay, I promise you. I want one shooting sun arrow, and the other two are yours. Li Xiaotian loosened his grip and retreated to the side. Tang Zheng and Yi Yuan pushed open the coffin together and took out 3 sun-shooting arrows. Li Xiaotian immediately grabbed one of the sun-shooting arrows and held it tightly in his arms, as if he was afraid that Tang Zheng would snatch it away. You only have the sun-shooting arrows. Without the heaven-shocking bow, what use do you have? Tang Zheng said. Who said I don't have a bow? Although this bow isn't a heaven-shocking bow, it's still a good bow. Li Xiaotian took out the iron bow on his back and pulled the bowstring. The shooting sun arrow had a flowing light on it, and a heart-palpitating power rushed out. Li Xiaotian was delighted, but she did not shoot it out. She had already sensed the power of this arrow. There's only one shooting sun arrow. You have to take good care of it. Otherwise, if you shoot it out once, there won't be any left. Tang Zheng teased. Li Xiaotian rolled his eyes, and said, You don't have to worry about that, the mountain man has his own plans. As he spoke, he took out a thin thread and tied it to the tail of the shooting sun arrow, then carefully kept the shooting sun arrow. Tang Zheng suddenly realized that she could reuse an arrow in the past. So she was doing the same thing, and he had worried for nothing. Where are we going now? Li Xiaotian said. Tang Zheng had been in the prehistoric heavenly tomb for so long, but he did not find any traces of Tian Chanzi, so he could only continue to go deeper. Actually, the prehistoric heavenly tomb was very big. Last time, he had only reached the edge of the prehistoric heavenly tomb and did not go deep inside. He guessed that Tian Chanzi must have gone deep into the prehistoric heavenly tomb. Since a super demonic beasts had appeared, then Tian Chanzi was probably not as safe as he thought. He had to find him as soon as possible so that they could take care of each other after meeting up. In addition, his trip to the Forbidden Grounds this time was mainly to find the mystery of the witch clan being imprisoned in the 10,000 huge mountains. Now that he had found nothing, he could not stop here. Continue forward, towards the heart of the prehistoric heavenly tomb. Tang Zheng said without hesitation. You've already obtained the shooting sun arrow, aren't you leaving this place? This is not a good place, it's too dangerous. Li Xiaotian said with lingering fear. If you want to leave, then leave first. I still have things to do. Tang Zheng did not waver at all. What exactly do you have to do? Li Xiaotian asked curiously. Tang Zheng shook his head and walked out of the house without saying a word. Yi Yuan quickly followed, and the two of them, one beast and one stone statue, walked towards the heart of the prehistoric heavenly tomb with large strides. Li Xiaotian looked at the other party's back with a complicated gaze, and muttered to himself, I barely escaped from the encirclement of the demonic beasts outside the prehistoric heavenly tomb. If I were to recover now, I might not be able to safely pass through. Furthermore, Tang Zheng is so mysterious, he must have some unspeakable secret. I can't leave, I have to follow him and see what his goal is. Wait for me. After making up his mind, he shouted and chased after her. Why aren't you leaving? Aren't you afraid? This trip is a 9 out of 10 chance of survival. Tang Zheng joked. Li Xiaotian rolled her eyes at him, and said, If you're not afraid, what am I afraid of? How can my courage be smaller than yours? Tang Zheng laughed, and said, Then follow me. Their speed was very fast, and by dawn, they had already traveled a long distance. Along the way, they saw an incomparably bleak and lifeless atmosphere. The ground was dark and bare. Not a single blade of grass grew. It was lifeless, and there wasn't even a trace of wind. Only the bright moon hanging high in the sky was looking down at them, giving off a strong sense of oppression. Fortunately, the three of them did not encounter any more enemies after traveling for an entire night. However, the surroundings were strangely quiet. Other than the sound of their footsteps, there was no other sound. As the sky gradually brightened, the three of them stopped to eat breakfast. Tang Zheng had filled his summer bag with a lot of food, at least he was not hungry. How much longer do we have to go? Li Xiaotian asked. I don't know. Let's rest for a while and continue forward. Tang Zheng said, and then the three of them sat down to rest for a while before continuing on their journey. The three of them had profound skills. Although they had been traveling for an entire night, they were still in high spirits. Taking advantage of the dawn, they continued to move forward. Not long after, a tall mountain appeared in their line of sight. This mountain peak was extremely tall and straight, as if it had pierced into the clouds and was connected to the heavens. It made people feel as small as an ant in front of it. Even the tall four symbols Venerable One was exceptionally small in front of this mountain. In addition, this mountain was incompatible with the surrounding environment. This was the strangest part. Although the wind was blowing in the prehistoric heavenly tomb, the temperature was not low. It could be considered hot. After all, this place was located in the subtropics. Although it was winter and the temperature was quite high, the mountain was covered in white snow from the top to the bottom. It was a stark contrast to the surrounding dark ground. What kind of mountain is this? Li Xiaotian asked in surprise. Buzhou Mountain. Tang Zheng blurted out. Li Xiaotian and Li Xiaotian looked at him in surprise at the same time. Li Xiaotian asked, how did you know? Tang Zheng was also stunned. When he heard Li Xiaotian's question, the three words Buzhou Mountain suddenly came out from the bottom of his heart. Before this, he did not know the name of this mountain at all. I don't know either. Tang Zheng was at a loss. This name suddenly came out of my heart. How could this be? Why didn't we think of this? Li Xiaotian retorted. Tang Zheng looked at the towering mountain, and suddenly, a sentence appeared in his heart. Buzhou Mountain, the mountain of heaven and earth, connects the heavens and the earth. Relying on this mountain, you can reach the sky beyond heaven. This mountain can lead to the sky beyond heaven. Tang Zheng was shocked by these words and was speechless for a long time. Li Xiaotian saw his flabbergasted expression and hurriedly asked, what's wrong with you? What's going on? Tang Zheng immediately regained his senses, and did not tell her the information regarding the Buzhou Mountain, because it was simply too shocking. If this Buzhou Mountain could lead to the sky beyond heaven, wouldn't that mean that the people of the sky beyond heaven could also use this mountain to return to the mortal world, and not use the demon god's vicious mountain river blood sacrifice array? Tian Chanzi wants the cultivators to return. Could it be that he has already entered the Buzhou Mountain and is implementing the method to let the cultivators of the sky beyond heaven return? Tang Zheng was shocked by his own thoughts, and said, let's hurry up and enter the mountain. Regardless of whether Tian Chanzi was implementing this plan or not, he had to quickly enter the mountain and find Tian Chanzi. Otherwise, when the cultivators returned, there would be a large-scale bloodbath. What are you doing in the mountains? Li Xiaotian asked curiously. Tang Zheng did not reply, but instead rushed towards the Buzhou Mountain. Yi Yuan and the four symbols Venerable Ones quickly followed. Li Xiaotian snorted in dissatisfaction, and also chased after them. Although Mount Buzhou was not far away, the three of them took almost half a day to reach the foot of the mountain. Look, there's actually such lush vegetation on this mountain. Li Xiaotian pointed at the trees and grass under the snow, extremely surprised. Ever since they entered the prehistoric heavenly tomb, everything had been a desolate scene, especially when they reached the center of the prehistoric heavenly tomb. There were no longer any plants, not a single blade of grass grew. However, this Buzhou Mountain was actually lush with vegetation. The contrast was too great. There must be a demon behind this abnormality. The three of them were already on guard. Up the mountain. Tang Zheng stepped onto the Buzhou mountain without hesitation, and when his feet landed on the white snow, in that moment, Tang Zheng felt the temperature around him suddenly change, from hot to bone-piercing cold, causing him to involuntarily shiver. He hurriedly channeled his innate qi to disperse the chill. Li Xiaotian shivered, hugged his arms, and said, "What the hell is this place? There's actually such a big difference between us. It's too cold, I can't take it." Li Xiaotian was wearing very thin clothes. Previously, her clothes had been torn into pieces by the three-headed flood dragon, and in the end, she found a set of clothes from her backpack to change into. Only then did she cover her exquisite body that was only wrapped in the heavenly silkworm treasure armor, but she did not prepare any thick clothes. "Tang Zheng, don't you have a summer ring? Do you have thick clothes inside?" Li Xiaotian asked. Tang Zheng found a set of his own thick clothes, and Li Xiaotian hurriedly wrapped it around his body. He looked at him bitterly and said, "I really don't understand you cultivators, you're actually not afraid of the cold." With Tang Zheng's cultivation, he had already reached the realm of being impervious to cold and heat, so he naturally did not care about this bit of cold. After this small interlude, the three of them continued to walk up the mountain. The cold wind blew non-stop, and the snow was very thick. The three of them did not move quickly, but with the four symbols venerable leading the way, there was not much of a problem. Unknowingly, the sky darkened. Chapter 4:12. The black cloud floated over very quickly, and in the blink of an eye, everyone felt that the sky had darkened. Tang Zheng stared straight at the black cloud, and couldn't help but frown. Suddenly, his heart skipped a beat, and he exclaimed, "Everyone, be careful." Crack! A bolt of lightning lit up in the black cloud. With a loud sound, the lightning streaked across the sky and descended towards the crowd. The three of them dodged to the side at the same time. With a boom, the ground was struck, and the pure white snow instantly melted and evaporated. The ground was charred black, and the vegetation was completely destroyed. "What's going on?" Yi Yuan turned pale with fright. Li Xiaotian seemed to have thought of something as well, and exclaimed, "It's that thing we encountered last time." Back then, when she and Tang Zheng escaped from the prehistoric heavenly tomb, they had encountered a black cloud. Furthermore, lightning flashed within the black cloud, forcing them into a sorry state. The two of them had barely escaped death, but they never thought that they would meet such a ruthless character the moment they arrived at Mount Buzhou. "Tang Zheng, what should we do now?" Li Xiaotian asked in a daze. "Don't worry, I'm here for it," Tang Zheng said fearlessly. He had once suspected that there was a super demonic beast in the black cloud, but since the four symbols venerable was by his side, he was not too worried about it. "You came for it. Are you crazy?" Li Xiaotian found it hard to believe. Tang Zheng did not care about her surprise. With a tap of his foot, he directly jumped onto the four symbols venerable's body. Squeak squeak! Xiao Bai cried out, and also jumped up like a shadow. He stood on the four symbols venerable's shoulder, and bared his teeth at the black cloud in the sky, full of provocation. Looking at Tang Zheng and Xiao Bai's fearless expressions, Li Xiaotian could not help but roll his eyes, and muttered, "This pair is truly audacious, I wonder how they will end this." Of course, Tang Zheng wasn't worried about the end result. After he entered the four symbols venerable's chest, he waved his hand and roared, "Kill!" The punch flew straight into the sky. There was still some distance between the punch and the black clouds, but this distance was completely covered by the power of the punch. A power invisible to the naked eye passed through space and arrived in an instant, bombarding the black cloud. Boom! With a loud bang, the black cloud started to tremble violently. Lightning flashed non-stop. Roar! Suddenly, a furious roar erupted from the black clouds. The lightning in the black clouds rapidly condensed together like a sharp sword, descending from the sky and landing on the four symbols venerable. The lightning enveloped the four symbols venerable. Tang Zheng felt the temperature around him suddenly rise, but he was not injured. Xiao Bai, on the other hand, was enveloped in flames, completely blocking the lightning. The lightning disappeared, and Xiao Bai continued to grin at the black cloud. A deafening roar came from the black cloud, and an invisible pressure covered the sky and covered the earth. Li Xiaotian and Yi Yuan felt as if they were being pressed down by 1,000 kilograms of boulders, and their breathing uncontrollably quickened. The heaven horse was even more uneasy as it spun around on the ground, its forehooves constantly digging at the soil on the ground. Tang Zheng also felt the pressure, but with the protection of the four symbols venerable, the pressure was much smaller, and he was not afraid at all. He shouted loudly, "Xiao Bai, attack!" Xiao Bai was obviously not afraid of the black cloud, he had long been ready to attack. Hearing the order, he raised his head high and opened his small mouth. Boom! Flames spewed out from her small mouth. In the blink of an eye, the sky was dyed fiery red by the flames. The black clouds were also dyed fiery red, as if the clouds had been ignited. Roar! One after another, furious roars came from the sky. Black clouds churned and lightning flashed, as if something was churning within the black clouds. Ka-cha! Lightning fell. This time, the lightning was very dense. It was like a fine rain pouring down, covering an area of several hundred meters. Li Xiaotian and Yi Yuan were shocked and immediately dodged. However, this kind of indiscriminate attack made it impossible for them to hide. "Don't be afraid, I'm here." Tang Zheng's voice came out from the four symbols venerable's body, and then, the four symbols venerable raised both of its arms, blocking all of the descending lightning. Its entire body was enveloped by the lightning, and the electric current crackled non-stop. This time, the electric current was too strong. Even though Tang Zheng was hiding inside the four symbols venerable's body, he still felt a shudder. "Eat my fist!" Tang Zheng roared, and fought back with all his might. The four symbols venerable's huge body tapped on the ground, and soared into the sky. The black cloud was not floating very high to begin with, as if it was above everyone's heads. Therefore, when the four symbols venerable soared into the air, he punched the black cloud. Boom! A loud sound rang out as thunder rumbled within the black cloud. Furthermore, a bolt of lightning descended from the sky, completely enveloping the four symbols venerable. Yi Yuan and Li Xiaotian stared at this scene with their mouths agape. They never thought that the four symbols venerable's huge body would actually have such a good jumping ability. Whiz! A white figure flashed past. The moment the four symbols venerable struck the black cloud, Xiao Bai followed its arm and rushed into the black cloud. Immediately, the black cloud churned violently. Lightning and fire intertwined, covering the sky above everyone's heads. Furthermore, angry roars and Xiao Bai's squeaking sounds rose and fell one after another. Tang Zheng felt all the hairs on his body stand up. The last bolt of lightning made him feel rather uncomfortable, and he wondered what kind of monster was hiding in the black cloud, to not be completely defeated even after taking such a heavy punch from him. Thunder rumbled in the sky, and even the ground began to tremble. The black clouds dissipated bit by bit, as did the flames and lightning. In the end, when the black clouds completely disappeared, a huge black object floated in the air. This gigantic creature had a pair of wings, and when it spread out its wings, it was dozens of meters wide, like a curtain in the sky. In addition, this monster's entire body was pitch black, and its body was covered with scales that glowed with a dark luster. However, the only exception was its forehead, where there was a silver-white lightning mark in the middle of its forehead, which was exceptionally eye-catching. It was rolling in the sky, as if it wanted to get rid of something. Tang Zheng's sharp eyes immediately saw a white figure on its head. This guy was of course Xiao Bai. Its four claws tightly grabbed onto the monster's scales, and when it opened its small mouth, it actually bit onto the scales. Blood flowed out from the corner of its mouth and sprinkled down from the sky, as if it was raining blood. "Humans, you guys are so big. How dare you trespass on Buzhou Mountain?" The monster opened its mouth and spoke in human language. Now, Tang Zheng was not very afraid of it, and said, "We are looking for someone." Have you seen a middle-aged man with long hair? After the old man Tian Chanzi was reborn, his body was that of a middle-aged handsome uncle. So you are in cahoots with that cunning guy. The monster glared and roared. Tang Zheng's eyes lit up, and said, You have seen him, where is he? He fled into the mountains, he must be dead. The monster said. Dead? Tang Zheng was startled for a moment, and then shook his head in denial. Tian Chanzi is incomparably cunning, and his strength is not weak, it is impossible for him to die. Daring to enter Buzhou Mountain, death is certain. The monster said disdainfully. If I didn't see it with my own eyes, I would never believe it. Tang Zheng said. The monster still wanted to refute, but it let out a heart-wrenching scream. It fell from the sky and crashed to the ground, smashing countless rocks and debris. It kept rolling on the ground, and wherever it passed, it was razed to the ground, trees fell, and rocks shattered. Tang Zheng was very clear about its purpose. It wanted to throw Xiaobai off its head, but Xiaobai was like a plaster sticking to its head, making it helpless. What is it? Why is it not afraid of me? The monster asked angrily. Tang Zheng smiled bitterly. If you know what it is, please tell me, because I don't know. Even the five-clawed golden dragon did not know the origin of Xiaobai, so Tang Zheng did not hold this hope for the time being. However, seeing Xiaobai's fearless appearance, Tang Zheng was quite gratified. This little guy's strength seems to be a lot stronger than before. It seems that with the passage of time, it is rapidly growing. This time, it can actually contend with this monster. Li Xiaotian was stunned as she watched Xiaobai and the monster fight. She thought that the difference between their bodies was so big, but they were still able to suppress the monster. It was really incredible. She looked at Tang Zheng again, and thought to herself, where did he find such a pet? It is too powerful. Little by little, the outcome of the battle was decided. The lightning mark on the monster's forehead was constantly emitting lightning, attacking Little White's body. At this moment, Little White's body was burning with flames, blocking the lightning. In the end, the ground was a mess, stained with blood, and the monster's body was suffused with a black light. Suddenly, the light flashed, and the monster's huge body quickly shrank. At a speed visible to the naked eye, it became the same size as Xiaobai in a short time. It was also firmly pressed under the feet of Xiaobai. This time, even Tang Zheng was surprised. This huge monster can actually shrink freely from such a big size to such a small size, it is too amazing. Xiaobai proudly raised its head, like a victorious general, and winked at Tang Zheng. Tang Zheng looked at its clown-like appearance and couldn't help but praise, Xiaobai, you are really amazing. Xiaobai nodded his head seriously, as if to say, your eyes are not bad. I will accept this praise. Xiaobai, is it still in danger? Tang Zheng asked carefully. Xiaobai patted the monster's head. The monster seemed to understand what it meant, drooped its head, and said dejectedly, I admit defeat, I admit defeat. Xiaobai released its claws. The monster stood up and looked at Xiaobai resentfully, then looked at Tang Zheng who had already come out of the Four Symbols Venerable's body. Little guy, what kind of demonic beasts are you? Tang Zheng heaved a sigh of relief and asked curiously. Thundercloud beast. The monster was very unwilling, but when it saw Xiaobai's glance, it hurriedly said. Thundercloud beast, it is indeed quite an image. It can move through the clouds and release lightning. Are there any other thundercloud beast in this prehistoric heavenly tomb? This was a crucial question. If there were other thundercloud beast and Xiaobai defeated one, it would be equivalent to poking a hornet's nest. If other thundercloud beast were to rush over, then his manpower would not be enough. Chapter 413. The thundercloud beast pouted in grievance, obviously not wanting to answer Tang Zheng's question. Pa! With a crisp sound, the thundercloud beast's little head was slapped by Xiaobai. The thundercloud beast immediately said obediently, No, I'm the only thundercloud beast in this prehistoric heavenly tomb. Tang Zheng heaved a sigh of relief and asked again, "What's so special about this Buzhou mountain that you actually said that you would definitely die if you went in?" "There are very powerful existences in the Buzhou mountain. Of course they will die if they go in. Even I don't dare to go in," the thunder cloud beast said with lingering fear. "You've never been in either?" Tang Zheng was extremely surprised. "Of course, my duty is to guard the Buzhou mountain and not allow anyone else to enter. Of course, I can't go in myself either," the thunder cloud beast said. "Didn't you say you were a guard of the Buzhou mountain? Then why did Tian Chanzi escape into the mountains?" Tang Zheng asked curiously. "Who is Tian Chanzi?" the thunder cloud beast asked curiously. "The person you said escaped into the depths of the Buzhou mountain. So it's him. His name is Tian Chanzi." Indignant anger immediately appeared in the eyes of the thunder cloud beast. "He is a cunning fellow. When I wasn't paying attention, he slipped in. I couldn't enter the mountains to chase after him, so I could only watch as he broke in. This is my dereliction of duty." With that, the thunder cloud beast lowered its head, looking extremely vexed. Tang Zheng's heart moved, and said, "Since Tian Chanzi has gone in, then let's hurry up and follow him." "No way." The thunder cloud beast immediately jumped up, pouted its mouth, and bravely blocked everyone's path. "My duty is to protect the Buzhou mountain, and not allow anyone to take a step in. I can't let you in. Someone has already gone in. This is already considered a dereliction of duty. Moreover, you've guarded the Buzhou mountain for so many years, have you never thought of going in to take a look?" Tang Zheng asked. The thunder cloud beast shook its little head without thinking. Obviously, it had never considered this problem before. However, when it thought of its dereliction of duty, the thunder cloud beast's expression immediately became very depressed. "Xiaobai, let's go." "Ignore it." Tang Zheng walked up the mountain with large strides. Li Xiaotian and Yi Yuan quickly followed. The thunder cloud beast wanted to stop them, but it knew that it was no match for them, so it could only stand aside helplessly like a defeated soldier. Xiaobai squeaked twice and patted the thundercloud beast's head, signaling it to follow. Then, it swaggered to catch up with Tang Zheng. The thundercloud beast was very unwilling, but it did not dare to resist. It seemed that it had suffered quite a bit at the hands of Xiaobai, so it was rather afraid of him. Tang Zheng turned around and glanced at the thundercloud beast that was following them like a tail. He smiled and continued to move forward without saying a word. Since the thundercloud beast said that there was an existence in this mountain that even it was afraid of, then it was definitely not an ordinary character. It could not be careless. This great battle was earth-shattering. The loud sound had long since spread far and wide within the prehistoric heavenly tomb, and the three of them also heard it. Just as the three of them crawled out of a tomb, the demon god had a large blade in his hand. His expression was extremely excited, his face flushed red, he kept stroking the large blade, and said with a trembling voice, "Magic Dragon Blade, I actually found the Magic Dragon Blade. Legend has it that this is the blade of a supreme expert demon dragon from the ancient era. It is a heaven-level divine weapon. I never thought that I would be able to obtain it so easily." The demon god raised his head to look and licked his lips, unable to hide his excitement. There were many stone monuments erected on the vast and desolate land. Beneath each stone monument was a tomb. Each tombstone had the name of the tomb owner engraved on it. Most of them were names that the demon gods had never heard of before. Previously, when he accidentally discovered that the owner of this tomb was called Mo Long, he was immediately overjoyed. He had heard of this name before, it was a supreme expert from the ancient era, but he did not expect it to be buried here. There were many legends about this Mo Long. It was said that ever since he started out, he had never tasted defeat. Countless experts had died at his hands. One of the most important reasons why he was able to do this was because he had a magic treasure called the Magic Dragon Blade. Seeing this tomb, the demon god immediately thought of the Magic Dragon Blade, so he did not hesitate to pry open the tomb. These supreme experts would usually bury their magic treasure along with them. As expected, there was a skeleton in the tomb. It was definitely the magic dragon. In addition, a large blade was floating beside the skeleton. It was the magic dragon blade, and the demon god did not hesitate to take it for himself. He found the magic dragon blade in the tomb. This heaven-level magic treasure was extremely important to him, especially at this moment. Tang Zheng had the protection of the four symbols venerables, so the demon god would not be able to take advantage of him. However, with this magic dragon blade, his strength would increase greatly. However, just as the three of them climbed out of the tomb, they heard a loud noise in the distance. The three of them were shocked and looked into the distance. They could vaguely see a mountain that seemed to reach the clouds. The three of them looked at each other, and Louis said suspiciously, "What happened over there? Why is there such a big movement? It's like an earthquake." Sawada Ichiro said with a pale face, "Could it be that Tangjin brat? Could it be that they met a strong enemy?" As he said this, his expression became more and more excited, hoping that Tang Zheng would meet a strong enemy and die. The demon god thought for a moment and said, "It's most likely related to him. Let's quickly follow them. There are so many tombs here, so there must be a lot of treasures. Are we just going to ignore them?" Louis looked at the tombs longingly, hoping that he could find a suitable weapon in one of the tombs. The demon god coldly snorted, and said, "That brat Tang Zheng came here regardless of the danger, he must have a big plan, who knows what kind of treasure he came here for. If we let him get here first, we will be in a passive position, we must immediately chase after him." The demon god had given the order, so the two of them did not dare to disobey. They could only reluctantly leave the tomb and head towards the direction of the sound. Wow, this mountain is really high. The three of them arrived at the foot of Mount Buzhou. Looking at the towering peak, they could not help but sigh. It's really high, but how come I've never heard of such a majestic mountain here? Now that technology was advanced, how could such a mountain escape the detection of modern technology? There was indeed no information related to this mountain in this world. Louis knew many famous mountains and rivers in the world, but this mountain was not one of them. The demon god looked at Mount Buzhou with a serious expression and said, "Do you think it's an ordinary mountain? Could there be something strange about this mountain?" The demon god's eyes were deep as he stared at Mount Buzhou. He muttered, "This mountain is not as simple as you think. Because I feel a mysterious aura from the mountain. Moreover, the scenery on the mountain is out of place with the surroundings. How can this be an ordinary mountain?" With such a reminder, the other two really focused their attention on Mount Buzhou. Sawada Ichiro said in surprise, "Hey, why is the scenery on this mountain so different? It's actually covered in ice and snow. Strange. What's strange about this? This is an enchantment, do you understand? With an enchantment, this mountain is equivalent to another world. Of course, the scenery is completely different. However, who set up this enchantment? This mountain is so big. Such an enchantment is not something an ordinary person can set up." The demon god sighed. "Then, are we still going up?" "Of course." The demon god looked up the mountain. Suddenly, his eyes turned cold as he stared at the mess in the distance. He thought of something and said, "It must be Tang Zheng's group that went up the mountain. However, I don't know what kind of enemy they encountered to make such a big commotion. Look, there are footprints over there. They're the footprints of the four symbols venerable." Louis pointed at the huge footprints in the distance. The human footprints had disappeared, but the footprints of the four symbols venerable were still very clear. The three of them immediately rushed up and found that the footprints extended from the foot of the mountain to the top. When they passed by the messy battlefield, the three of them did not look very good. Just by looking at the charred battlefield, they could imagine how fierce the battle was. What kind of enemy did they encounter? Louis said as if he was talking to himself. The demon god snorted and said, "Since they've already left here, it means that the enemy has been eliminated. No matter who the enemy is, there's nothing to worry about. The demon god gained a lot of confidence after obtaining the demon dragon saber. The three of them did not stay for long and continued forward. After a while, the footprints disappeared and they lost track of their target. The three of them looked at each other and did not know what to do. What should we do? The demon god did not know what to do. However, the disappearance of the footprints was too strange, and he was confused for a moment. No matter where they went, they're in this mountain. They can't run away. Chase. The three of them could only rush forward like headless flies. The three of them rushed to the top of the mountain for a while but found that the top was still far away. There was no trace of Tang Zheng's group. The demon god stopped and looked at the void in front of him and said, "No, there's a barrier on this mountain. If we can't break through the barrier, we can't reach the top at all. There must be treasures hidden at the top of the mountain." Tang Zheng's group used some kind of method to break through the barrier. The void in front of him was within reach and there was nothing blocking it. The demon god stared at the void without blinking. Lewis and Sawada Ichiro looked at him curiously and asked, "How can we break through the barrier?" To break through the barrier, of course, we have to use human lives as a medium. The demon god's eyes flashed with a sinister look. He moved as fast as lightning and grabbed Sawada Ichiro's neck. "One of your arms is gone. You've become disabled. It's useless to leave you in this world." With a flash of the saber, Sawada Ichiro's neck was cut open. Blood gushed out and shot into the void in front of him. However, the blood did not fall but floated in the air. The demon god did not blink. He quickly made hand seals and hit the void one by one. In an instant, the void trembled violently. Sawada Ichiro covered his neck with both hands. Blood flowed through the gaps between his fingers. His eyes were wide open and he kept groaning. Sawada Ichiro looked at the demon god in disbelief. He did not expect the demon god to cut his neck without hesitation. In the end, his life was completely gone. At this moment, there was a crisp sound in the void, and the scene in front of him changed dramatically. Author's digression. Happy New Year, everyone. Chapter 4:14. The demon god and Lewis didn't even look at Sawada Ichiro, who had lost his life, as if he was just an insignificant ant. They were staring at the void in front of them. When Sawada Ichiro's life was completely exhausted, there was a crisp sound in the void, and the scene in front of them changed dramatically. The blood in the void disappeared, and the snow in front of them disappeared. It was as if they had come to a new world in an instant. The birds were singing, the flowers were fragrant, the grass was lush, the sun was bright, the sky was blue, and the clouds were white. It was like a painting. The demon god and Lewis couldn't help but be stunned. They looked at each other, and Lewis exclaimed, "This is amazing." Although the immortal vampires had many abilities that they were proud of, they definitely didn't have this kind of ability. In Lewis's eyes, this was almost a miracle. The demonic god also had a look of shock on his face as he said, "This is simply a new world. Amazing, truly amazing." The two walked into the garden full of spring, and the mountain disappeared. A warm feeling came from all directions. "Demon god, where should we find them?" Lewis asked. The demon god was also at his wit's end. He said, "Take your time. They can't just disappear into thin air. Tang Zheng and the others couldn't just disappear into thin air. They had encountered the 2 or 3 wards before, but it didn't stop them. It wasn't because of the Thunder Cloud Beast, because the Thunder Cloud Beast didn't enter the mountains at all, and didn't know about the wards. Tang Zheng had a magical feeling again. Without any warning, he knew how to open the wards. With just a few simple hand gestures, the scene in front of him suddenly became clear, and there was no need to use life as a medium. This scene shocked the Thunder Cloud Beast, and it stared at Tang Zheng with its round little eyes. Li Xiaotian directly asked Tang Zheng if he had been here before, and why he could call out the name of Buzhou Mountain before, and why he could open the wards so skillfully now, as if he had returned home. Of course, Tang Zheng could not answer this question. This was the mysterious heart's question. The answer seemed to have been stored in his heart for a long time. Just by touching the scene, the answer immediately popped out. Yi Yuan, on the other hand, did not have any objections. In the eyes of the witch clan, Tang Zheng was an omnipotent person, and these miraculous methods were all natural abilities. The few of them didn't dwell on this issue and immediately stepped into another world. A spring breeze brushed past their faces, making them feel refreshed. However, Mount Buzhou was fraught with dangers at every step, so they didn't dare to be careless. Even the thundercloud beast stretched out its head, swaying left and right, looking around like a curious baby. Obviously, this was the first time the little guy had entered the depths of Mount Buzhou, so he was full of curiosity about everything. "Where are we going?" Li Xiaotian asked. Tang Zheng looked at the beautiful scenery in front of him and said, "I don't know. Let's walk and see." The few of them walked for a long distance. Suddenly, a small courtyard appeared in front of them. They immediately stopped in their tracks and looked at the small courtyard warily. This courtyard was completely made of bamboo. It was incomparably green and the courtyard door was tightly shut. It was impossible to see what was going on inside. "Lord Envoy, are we going in?" Yi Yuan asked. "Of course." Tang Zheng muttered to himself for a moment, then carefully walked over and pushed the courtyard door with both of his palms. With a creak, the courtyard door was pushed open. There was no danger. Everything was quiet. Tang Zheng immediately stepped into the courtyard, and the other two also walked in like shadows. Only the four symbols' venerable's body was too huge, and stood outside the courtyard door. "Who is it?" Suddenly, an angry roar sounded out. The three of them stopped in their tracks at the same time and looked towards the direction of the voice. They saw a person standing in the courtyard, but his back was facing them. Hearing this voice, Tang Zheng raised his eyebrows, he was overjoyed and shouted, "Tian Chanzi, is that you?" This voice was too familiar, how could Tang Zheng forget it, so he recognized it with just one sentence. "Tang Zheng, it's you, why are you here?" Tian Chanzi did not turn around, but asked loudly. But before Tang Zheng could reply, Tian Chanzi shouted in panic, "Brat, hurry up and leave this place, otherwise it will be too late." "What's too late?" "Tian Chanzi, what are you talking about?" Tang Zheng was confused. Li Xiaotian stared at Tian Chanzi without blinking. She had never seen Tian Chanzi before, but she had heard of his great name and knew that he was Tang Zheng's powerful master. Seeing that Tian Chanzi did not move at all, Li Xiaotian suddenly had a bad premonition, and shouted, "Tang Zheng, there's danger, quickly retreat." After being reminded, Tang Zheng finally realized that something was wrong. Firstly, Tian Chanzi was a very steady person, and had never spoken in such a panicked tone. Secondly, ever since he saw Tian Chanzi, he had not moved at all, like a puppet, which was definitely not normal. "Ah Yuan, quickly leave this courtyard." Tang Zheng shouted as if he had just woken up from a dream. With a tap of his foot, he flew backwards without looking back, wanting to leave the courtyard as quickly as possible. Little White and the Thunder Cloud Beast were not slow either. The two little guys quickly rushed out of the courtyard. Before the three people and two beasts could retreat to the entrance of the small courtyard, their movements came to an abrupt halt. It was as if they were immobilized, unable to move. "Ah, why can't I move?" Li Xiaotian cried out in shock. "Lord Envoy, I can't move either." Yi Yuan's expression changed slightly. Tang Zheng's face darkened, he became serious like never before, and said, "I can't move either, everyone don't panic, let's figure out the situation first." Out of the corner of his eye, he saw the two little fellows beside him. Xiao Bai bared his teeth and squeaked non-stop, unable to move. The thundercloud beast pouted its mouth and growled, "I already said that Buzhou Mountain is very dangerous, but you guys didn't believe me. Now you know that I didn't lie to you. Sigh, brat, you guys are too careless." You guys didn't even understand the situation and dared to barge in. Tian Chanzi said in annoyance. Tian Chanzi, don't be sarcastic, aren't you also unable to move? What exactly is going on? Why did all of us become like this? Tang Zheng asked in a deep voice. Do you still remember the drawing ground prison formation that I told you about before? Tian Chanzi asked. Of course I remember. Tang Zheng's heart moved. Could this be the use of the drawing ground prison formation? Yes, it's just that this formation is too secretive. It must have been done by a formation expert, even I was deceived. Tian Chanzi said. Then what should we do now? We can't just be trapped like this forever, right? If no one comes to kill us, we'll starve to death. Li Xiaotian said with a sullen face. Ever since she had seen the world of cultivators, Li Xiaotian felt that her knowledge was becoming more and more insufficient. Just like now, she had no idea what to do and could only ask for help. Hee, which girl is this? Tang Zheng, you brat, everywhere you go there are girls. Not bad, it seems that my teachings are really useful. Tian Chanzi said with a laugh. Li Xiaotian's face was slightly red, thinking how could this master speak like this. Tang Zheng didn't know whether to laugh or cry, saying, Tian Chanzi, don't talk nonsense, hurry up and tell me what to do now. Tian Chanzi said unhappily, if I knew what to do, I wouldn't have been trapped until now. Your cultivation is so high, don't tell me you don't have a way. Tang Zheng was shocked. Isn't this nonsense? I already told you that you can't trespass, this is all your own fault. The thundercloud beast said with schadenfreude. Tian Chanzi heard this and exclaimed, why is that thundercloud beast's voice, why is it here? Could it be that you were also trapped by the drawing ground prison formation? It's me, you despicable human, you slipped away from under my nose, now you know that you've suffered a big loss. The thundercloud beast said. Tian Chanzi couldn't turn around, so there was no way to see the situation behind him, but he also knew how powerful the thundercloud beast was. He almost suffered a loss in front of the thundercloud beast, and finally escaped with great difficulty. He didn't expect that the thundercloud beast would chase after him, and obviously come with Tang Zheng. Tian Chanzi was full of doubts, and quickly asked, Boy, what is going on? The thundercloud beast was subdued by Xiao Bai, so it came here with us. Tang Zheng replied. Tian Chanzi was slightly startled, and then immediately laughed. Ha, Xiao Bai is actually so powerful, I already said that you are not simple little guy, and it is true. Of course it was not simple, even the five-clawed golden dragon was shocked by Xiao Bai's momentum, so it didn't seem particularly strange that the thundercloud beast was subdued by Xiao Bai. Xiao Bai heard this, proudly raised its little head, and seemed to understand that Tian Chanzi was praising it, and then proudly pointed at the thundercloud beast with its mouth. The thundercloud beast was like a little wife who had been wronged, dejected. The thundercloud beast has lived in this mountain for a long time, maybe it knows how to get out. Tian Chanzi said. I don't know. The thundercloud beast said without hesitation, besides, even if I know, I won't tell you. You trespassed on Buzhou Mountain, now you know how to suffer. Buzhou Mountain, little guy, you said this mountain is called Buzhou Mountain? Tian Chanzi heard the three words, Buzhou Mountain, and loudly exclaimed. Ha, this is Buzhou Mountain, I was wondering why this place was so strange, so it turned out to be the famous Buzhou Mountain. Buzhou Mountain is a divine mountain that has disappeared for many years, I didn't expect it to be here. Buzhou Mountain is connected to sky beyond sky, enter this mountain, we can go to sky beyond sky, or let the people from sky beyond sky return to this world through this mountain. Tian Chanzi chattered, talking to himself, and was very excited. Tang Zheng already knew this, and deliberately concealed this from Li Xiaotian, but he didn't expect Tian Chanzi to suddenly expose this point. Tang Zheng's face slightly changed, it was too late to stop, because, he found that Li Xiaotian had already opened her eyes wide, she already knew the demon god's plan to let the demon clan return from sky beyond sky, and deeply understood that if the demon clan or other cultivators returned to this world, it would have a great impact. Her face had completely changed, but she didn't say a word, but her eyes kept flashing. Seeing this, Tang Zheng secretly screamed. Li Xiaotian didn't say a word, she must be thinking of countermeasures. Chapter 4:15. Tian Chanzi was still very excited, completely unaware of Li Xiaotian's little calculations, and continued to chatter, since we found Buzhou Mountain, then from now on, this world belongs to the cultivators. Tian Chanzi, you should think of a way to leave this place first. Tang Zheng interrupted him and said. Tian Chanzi said without care, we will naturally think of a way, what are you worried about? It seems that all of this is the will of the heavens, the Buzhou mountain that has disappeared for countless years has reappeared, this is destined to let the cultivators return to this world. Hearing this, Li Xiaotian's face became more and more unsightly, his lips trembled a few times, but in the end, he did not say anything. Seeing this, Tang Zheng sighed inwardly, thinking that she must have made up her mind. This time when she returned, the Li Palace's attitude would change, maybe they would stand together with the martial organization and jointly resist the cultivators. In addition, the Azure Dragon store that had always been elusive would also join this army. At that time, the world would really be in chaos. Little brat, why do I feel that there is something outside the courtyard? The shadow is so tall, what is it? Tian Chanzi saw the tall shadow beside him and asked suspiciously. It is the witch clan's guardian god, the Four Symbols Venerable. Four Symbols Venerable. Tian Chanzi sucked in a breath of cold air. The Four Symbols Venerable also appeared, so the witch clan's guardian god you mentioned before is actually the Four Symbols Venerable. This is too unexpected, this is really the heavens helping me. Obviously, Tian Chanzi also knew of the great name of the Four Symbols Venerable. Hurry up and tell this big guy to make a move, break this circle prison formation. Tian Chanzi said excitedly. Does it have the ability? Of course it does, you little brat really underestimated the strength of the Four Symbols Venerable, and also overestimated the power of the circle prison formation. The circle prison formation is only effective against people who enter the formation, it has no effect against people or things outside the formation. Tian Chanzi explained. Oh, that means we have a chance to escape. Tang Zheng was overjoyed. With a thought, the Four Symbols Venerables also moved. Like an earthquake, they kicked the courtyard door. Boom! The courtyard door remained unscathed, but the Four Symbols Venerable actually took a step back. Tang Zheng was shocked. What's going on? Who dares to destroy my courtyard? A crisp and angry shout rang out. This voice was very young and tender. A figure flashed and everyone saw a person walking out of the house. First, it was a pair of short and small feet. The few of them were stunned for a moment. Why did it look like a child's legs? It was indeed a child. A 7 or 8-year-old boy swaggered out. His pink and tender face was filled with anger. His pair of big eyes swept around, but it gave people a sense of majesty. Which one of you dares to destroy my courtyard? The boy asked angrily. Strange. I've been trapped in this courtyard for so many days, but I didn't notice that there was actually a living person in this house. Instead, it's a child. Tian Chanzi clicked his tongue in wonder. He seemed to be shocked by this scene. You're the child, the boy retorted disdainfully. Hee, you're so small. Aren't you a child? We're not blind. Tian Chanzi was not afraid of him at all, and said jokingly. You call me a child. Do you think I'm still a child now? As soon as he finished speaking, the child disappeared and was replaced by a middle-aged man. This was the transformation of a child in the blink of an eye. Tang Zheng stared at this middle-aged man, flabbergasted. Tian Chanzi also stared at him as if he had seen a ghost. This middle-aged man looked exactly like Tian Chanzi. It was as if they were cast from the same mold. There was no difference. You. Tian Chanzi turned pale with fright. However, he quickly calmed down and said, it's just an illusion. Is it an illusion? The middle-aged man spoke. His voice was exactly the same as Tian Chanzi's. If it's an illusion, have you ever seen such a realistic illusion? Then, he went straight to Tian Chanzi. Their eyes met. Tian Chanzi wanted to distinguish the difference between himself and the other party, but in the end, he found that it was futile. The other party was exactly the same as him, and he couldn't help but feel a little frightened. Illusions could indeed reach the level of being able to pass off as real, but Heaven Monk had never seen such a realistic illusion before. Furthermore, to be able to escape his fiery eyes crystal, this was definitely not an illusion. How did you do it? Tian Chanzi asked in a deep voice. The other party smiled and didn't answer. He said to himself, you finally know that this is not an illusion. Then, he patted Tian Chanzi's cheek. I don't remember how many years it has been since a guest came here. I'm really bored here alone. Now that I have you guys, my life will definitely be much more interesting in the future. You will become my dolls. Ha, I love dolls the most. Who are you? Tian Chanzi asked in horror. He gradually found that he couldn't understand the other party at all. What's my name? Let me think. I haven't been asked for my name for many years. I've almost forgotten it. The other party tilted his head and pondered. After a long time, he patted his head and said, haha, I remember now. I'm called the 100 Faces Star Lord. Yes, that's the name. Fortunately, you asked me this question. Otherwise, I'm afraid that after tens of thousands of years, I would have forgotten this name. Tens of thousands of years. Everyone was shocked by his words. Inferring from this, he had actually lived for tens of thousands of years. What's the fuss about this? I've been here for who knows how many years, at least tens of thousands of years. The 100 Faces Star Lord said indifferently. A few people were secretly speechless. If that was the case, then this person was from the ancient era. Those who could still survive in that era were definitely not nameless people. It was just that these people were ignorant and inexperienced, and had never heard of his name. It seems that you guys definitely don't know my name. Anyway, this isn't the point. The point is that you guys will be my dolls in the future. Hee, with you guys accompanying me, it will definitely be very interesting. I can't wait to play. How do I play? I got it. The 100 Faces Star Lord pondered for a while. Then, he walked in front of Tang Zheng and looked at Li Xiaotian. He clapped his hands and said excitedly, I remember that a long time ago, I played a game called Playing House. You two just happened to be playing house. After saying this, he waved his hand. Tang Zheng and Li Xiaotian flew up from the ground and stood face to face. Li Xiaotian's face turned pale with fright. He cried out, what are you doing? Tang Zheng, hurry up and stop him. Save me. Tang Zheng bitterly smiled, if only he had a way to stop him then that would be great. He had already circulated the ancient clear heaven scroll countless times, and his true chi flowed through his body over and over again, wanting to break free from the imprisonment of the drawing ground prison, but he found that it was completely useless. Don't be noisy. This game is very interesting. The 100 Faces Star Lord said unhappily. Li Xiaotian's voice immediately disappeared. She found that no matter how she opened her mouth to shout, there was no sound at all. But the two of you have to change your clothes. The groom and the bride must have their own clothes. This way, the celebration will be official. After the 100 Faces Star Lord finished speaking, Tang Zheng and Li Xiaotian's clothes changed. They became the clothes of the ancient groom and bride. Tang Zheng even wore a tall hat on his head. This kind of costume could only be seen in ancient dramas. It was a bit funny, but the people involved couldn't laugh. Instead, they felt a deep fear. When a person's body was controlled by someone else, this fear came from the bottom of their heart and went deep into their bones. Looking at the flustered and pale Li Xiaotian, Tang Zheng wasn't in the mood to gloat. Although Li Xiaotian's appearance was rarely seen in 100 years. I can't just go through the wedding ceremony with her like this. Tang Zheng thought. Although he couldn't move his body, he wouldn't give up just like that. As such, he shouted, "For symbols venerable, attack." The 4 symbols venerable charged toward the small courtyard. His huge body was several times taller than the courtyard, so his charge was extremely powerful. The small courtyard began to tremble. The 100 Faces Star Lord raised his head and stared impatiently at the 4 symbols venerable. "For symbols venerable, what an annoying fellow. Scram to the side." Following his loud roar, a water screen appeared on the courtyard wall out of thin air. Boom! A loud sound rang out as circles of ripples appeared on the water screen. However, it wasn't damaged at all. The 4 symbols venerable, on the other hand, was shaken and forced to take a small step back. "I told you this big fellow wouldn't be able to ruin my plans. You two continue. First, bow to the heavens and earth." The 100 Faces Star Lord shouted. Afterward, Tang Zheng and Li Xiaotian bowed toward the distant sky. Second, bow to the elders. There aren't any elders. Their parents aren't here either. Forget it, this old man is the oldest. Let him be the elder. The 100 Faces Star Lord pointed out casually and Tian Chanzi moved horizontally in front of the 2. Then, the 2 bowed toward him. Tian Chanzi's expression was extremely interesting. He didn't know whether to laugh or cry as he said, "Tang Zheng, you brat, you've finally bowed to me. This little girl isn't bad. She's quite pretty. It's not a loss to be your wife, but it's a loss to my good disciple. Oh well, with me as your master in the future, my disciple will naturally be your wife. This little girl can just be a concubine." Li Xiaotian's eyes seemed like they were about to spit fire. She glared at Tian Chanzi furiously. In her heart, she had long since cursed Tian Chanzi's 18 generations of ancestors. "You're the concubine. Your whole family are concubines." However, she couldn't say anything. She could only express her anger with her eyes. However, this didn't work on Tian Chanzi. She glared fiercely at Tang Zheng and thought to herself, "Tang Zheng, you heartless person. Hurry up and think of something. Do you really want to cook the rice and truly bow to the heavens and earth?" Tang Zheng didn't have such thoughts. When he saw Li Xiaotian's eyes that looked like she wanted to eat someone, he didn't have the heart to tease her. However, he really didn't have a good idea. He could only urge the 4 symbols venerables to attack the water screen over and over again. However, what shocked Tang Zheng was that the water screen's resistance to attacks was too strong. Under the powerful attacks of the 4 symbols venerables, the water screen only trembled continuously. It didn't collapse at all. After bowing to the elders, it's time for the husband and wife to bow to each other. Wow, this is so fun. The 4 symbols venerables excitedly clapped his hands. However, he was in Tian Chanzi's appearance. This childlike clapping seemed very awkward no matter how one looked at it. Li Xiaotian was on the verge of tears. She looked at Tang Zheng with a heart like dead ashes. She was the holy maiden of the Li Palace. The Li Palace had its rules. The holy maiden of the Li Palace was not allowed to marry, not even in a formal wedding. Thus, if she really did complete this set of etiquette with Tang Zheng, it would be equivalent to her betrayal of the Li Palace. Chapter 4:16. Li Xiaotian had lived in the Li Palace for as long as she could remember. Although she was very black-bellied, she still had a standard in her heart, and that was to never betray the Li Palace. The Li Palace was her home, her roots. The 100 Changes Star Sovereign's game was tantamount to uprooting her roots, so how could she not panic? Seeing the unprecedented panic and despair on her face, Tang Zheng glanced at the 4 symbols venerables out of the corner of his eye. Distant water could not put out a nearby fire. Suddenly, his gaze fell on Xiao Bai, and an idea came to him. He shouted, "Xiao Bai, breathe fire and burn him." Xiaobai was ready to take action. Hearing this order, it opened its small mouth and spat out a stream of flames. Boom! The flames soared into the sky and attacked the 100 Changes Star Sovereign. The 100 Changes Star Sovereign was originally dancing with joy and was extremely excited. Seeing the flames coming at him, he was truly frightened and hurriedly jumped away. The flames swept over his head and went straight for the house behind him. This house was completely made of green bamboo and would ignite upon contact with the flames. With a flash of fire, the house became a volcanic sea of fire. The 100 Changes Star Sovereign looked at his house in astonishment, then looked at the smug Xiaobai. Instantly, he was furious and roared, "You dare to burn my house? I will skin you and pull out your tendons." Squeak squeak. Xiaobai was not afraid at all. He grinned at the 100 Changes Star Sovereign and barked twice. "I don't want to." Suddenly, the Thunder Cloud Beast spoke for no reason. Squeak squeak. Xiaobai barked twice more. The Thunder Cloud Beast seemed to have given in. It said in an aggrieved tone, "Fine then. Humph, you only know how to bully me." As soon as he said that, the lightning mark on the Thundercloud Beast's forehead lit up. With a thunderous crack, the lightning leaped out from the Thundercloud Beast's forehead to attack Star Monarch Multiform. "You actually dare to attack me?" The 100 Transformation Star Sovereign dodged, and the lightning accurately struck the house. With a rumbling sound, the house completely fell apart, turning into ruins. "Thundercloud Beast, aren't you supposed to be the guardian of Buzhou Mountain? How dare you team up with them? I'll take care of you first." Multiform's face turned green with anger as he glared at the beast with bulging eyes. The 100 Transformation Star Sovereign transformed back into a child. Clearly, this was his original form. He waved his lotus root-like hands, causing a pillar of water to shoot up into the sky, aiming for the Thundercloud Beast. Roar! The Thundercloud Beast roared and fought back. Lightning flashed and thunder rumbled. The small courtyard was immediately covered by lightning. 9 lightning balls floated around it. Each lightning ball emitted a bolt of lightning that interweaved into a large net, blocking the water column's attack. "Humph, petty tricks. I'll let you know how powerful I, 100 Change Star Lord, am." The 100 Transformation Star Sovereign gently pointed his finger. The water column suddenly transformed into a ferocious beast. It opened its bloody mouth and directly swallowed the Thundercloud Beast and the 9 lightning balls into its stomach. In an instant, the water column transformed into a ferocious beast. Its body flickered with dazzling lightning. "Zhi zhi!" Suddenly, Xiaobai angrily cried out. Its eyes were scarlet red. With a swoosh, its entire body was covered in flames. "Zhi!" Xiaobai opened its small mouth and cried out. However, its cry was not as loud as the Thundercloud Beast. It seemed that even if it used all its strength, it would not be able to make a loud cry. The 100 Transformation Star Sovereign disdainfully said, "Little guy, I'll deal with you now." With that, the ferocious beast opened its bloody mouth and bit at Xiaobai. "No!" Tang Zheng turned pale with fright. He quickly shouted to stop it. However, he could not move at all. Even if he shouted until his throat was broken, it was useless. When the 100 Transformation Star Sovereign saw their panicked looks, she giggled and danced with joy. "Ha, this is what happens when you don't play games with me. However, with you dolls accompanying me in the future, it seems that these days are not bad." Xiaobai was also swallowed by the ferocious beast. Tang Zheng's face became incomparably pale. He and Xiaobai had been together for so many days. Their relationship had always been good. He couldn't accept the fact that Little White was gone just like that. 100 Transformation Star Sovereign, I'll kill you." Tang Zheng went crazy. The true qi in his body boiled. His body emitted hot steam. His skin became incomparably red. Even his eyes were red. "Hee hee, you dolls are angry. Good, good. I love to see others angry." I'm the happiest when others are angry. The 100 Transformation Star Sovereign clapped her hands and shouted excitedly. You dare to kill my Xiaobai? I want you dead. An angry roar came out from Tang Zheng's throat. The air around Tang Zheng also started to ripple, and circles of ripples quickly spread outwards. Seeing him like this, Li Xiaotian turned pale with fright and shouted, Tang Zheng, what happened to you? However, Tang Zheng acted as if he did not hear it at all. His skin became redder and redder, and the steam rising from his body became more and more intense. Yi Yuan shouted, Lord Envoy, Lord Envoy. Woo woo. Tian Chanzi also shouted, but he was sealed by the 100 Transformation Star Sovereign and could not speak. He could only anxiously look at Tang Zheng, wanting to stop him, but had no way to do so. However, the bottom of his heart was like an ant on a hot pan. He anxiously thought, this is bad, this brat has already activated all of the pure yang energy in his body. His body will explode and he will die. Tang Zheng had indeed detonated the pure yang energy in his body. The pure yang energy had fused with the innate qi, causing the innate qi in his body to reach an unprecedented level. He was like a balloon. There was too much air in the balloon, and it was extremely likely that it would explode immediately, causing him to be finished. But Tang Zheng could not care less, all of them were under control, and Xiaobai had been swallowed by the ferocious beast that the other party had created. Therefore, he had completely lost the wolf. His anger quickly ignited, and he took the initiative to detonate the pure yang energy. Boom! A loud sound came out from Tang Zheng's body, his body quickly lit up with a red light, and then his hands actually recovered their movement. With a wave of his hands, the War Soul Sword appeared in his hands, and he held the sword with both hands, causing the aura of heaven and earth to rapidly change. The War Soul Sword flashed with a black light. This light was extremely sharp, causing people to involuntarily feel fear in their hearts. Li Xiaotian's face was pale white, she looked at Tang Zheng with burning eyes, she had already forgotten to speak, she was unable to describe how she felt towards Tang Zheng at this moment. He was like a towering mountain, making her feel very small. This was a feeling she had never felt before. At this moment, she felt an instinctive fear towards Tang Zheng, a fear that came from her soul. Tian Chanzi's eyes lit up, and exclaimed in his heart, good boy, the pure yang energy has completely exploded, and he has actually comprehended the fourth move of the heaven-flying immortal, heaven falls and earth rends. Kill! Tang Zheng roared, and the War Soul Sword slashed down. Boom! An earth-shattering sound rang out, dust flew everywhere, and the courtyard immediately turned into ruins. The ground beneath his feet immediately cracked, and a bottomless crack appeared. The water curtain outside the courtyard also collapsed, and the ferocious beast that the water pillar had transformed into also exploded into droplets of water with a loud cracking sound. Two small figures jumped out from the water droplets. Zhi. Roar! Xiaobai and the thunder cloud beast did not die, and both sides used their own voices to express their anger. I can move now. Suddenly, Li Xiaotian cried out in surprise, followed by Yi Yuan's cheers. Without a doubt, Tang Zheng's move, Heaven Falls and Earth Rends, had directly destroyed the array formation of the drawing ground prison, and everyone had escaped. Amidst the smoke and dust, Heaven Monk regained his freedom, but he did not act rashly. Instead, he looked at Tang Zheng with a complicated gaze. He did not expect that after Tang Zheng detonated the pure yang energy, he would be able to temporarily escape the imprisonment of the drawing ground prison. His hands regained the ability to move, and then he activated the fourth move of the heaven-flying immortal, allowing everyone to escape. The heaven-collapsing earth-shattering move could destroy the array formation, but the Heaven Monk was not surprised, because although the array formation was powerful, it could only trap the enemy when they were not paying attention, and the defensive power of the array formation was not strong. Tian Chanzi was surprised that Tang Zheng could actually escape after being imprisoned by the drawing ground prison. This was out of his expectations. To break through the drawing ground prison, one's strength had to be much higher than the controller of the array. However, it was clear that Tang Zheng's cultivation was worlds apart from the 100 transformation star lords, yet he was able to do this. Tian Chanzi did not even need to think to guess that this was definitely the effect of his 9-yang holy body, which was also the mystery of the 5-clawed golden dragon Skywalker. No wonder the 5-clawed golden dragon was so afraid of Tang Zheng's identity as a Skywalker. This brat truly has a lot of things that go beyond common sense. He is simply a miracle maker. Tian Chanzi sighed in his heart. My soul survived for 1,000 years before I met him. In the past, I always thought that meeting him was this brat's fortune. Now that I think about it carefully, meeting him was actually a huge opportunity for me. Although I was not a nameless person in the cultivation world, I was still far from those almighty figures. After meeting this brat, perhaps my opportunity has truly changed. In the future, I might even become one of those almighty figures that I yearn for. No one knew about Tian Chanzi's complicated thoughts at this moment. They were all looking at Tang Zheng. He had become the center of attention. And Tang Zheng was still holding his sword with both hands as he stared at the dust cloud. Cough cough. Suddenly, a coughing sound came from the dust cloud. The 100 transformation Star Lord's voice rang out again. However, this time, the young voice was mixed with gloominess and anger. You actually broke my drawing ground prison and ruined my game. I will chop you into pieces and bury you in this Buzhou mountain, so that you will never be reincarnated. The dust cloud dissipated and the scene in front of them became clear. They saw that the place where the war soul sword had slashed had turned into a large pit, and the one standing at the bottom of the pit was the 100 transformation Star Lord. His clothes were tattered and his pink little face was purple and green. He was in a very sorry state. Moreover, his eyes were burning with raging anger. The 100 transformation Star Lord flew up. Without any movement, he lightly stood on the ground and floated in the air. The atmosphere between heaven and earth changed in an instant. Chapter 4:17. Seeing the 100 transformation Star Sovereign in such a sorry state, the aura he emitted caused everyone to be shocked, not daring to underestimate him in the slightest. Your sword technique is not bad, but if you want to kill me, you are still too lacking. The 100 transformation Star Sovereign gritted his teeth and said, since you do not want to be my puppets, then there is no need for you to exist in this world. You want to kill us? Now that we have regained our freedom, let's see if you have the ability to kill us. Tian Chanzi stood proudly with a long sword in his hand. Tang Zheng temporarily reverted to his wolf form and stared at the long sword in Tian Chanzi's hand. His eyes lit up as he said, Tian Chanzi, you actually changed your weapon. Tian Chanzi proudly said, of course, this is a heaven-grade treasure I found in the tomb. It is many times better than the Ghost General's ghost head blade. Brat, your pure yang energy has completely erupted. Quickly suppress it, otherwise you will explode and die. Tang Zheng helplessly smiled bitterly and said, my pure yang energy has completely erupted. I have no way to suppress it. Tian Chanzi's expression slightly changed as he sighed and said, then let's first deal with this 100 transformation Star Sovereign and then think of a way. Li Xiaotian looked at the two blankly. He really did not understand what was going on with the pure yang energy. Tang Zheng looked so powerful now, but why did it sound like he was in great danger? Stop talking nonsense, kill. The 100 transformation Star Sovereign swooped down from the sky. With a wave of his hand, the sky was suddenly filled with raindrops. The raindrops fell rapidly, like thousands of rain swords, rapidly falling. Killing intent filled the entire space. Roar! Tang Zheng shouted and rose from the ground. The War Soul sword pierced straight into the sky, stirring up the rain of swords. However, Tian Chanzi also rose into the air. His long sword pierced into the sky silently, as if there was no power behind it. Despite that, the rain of swords in the sky stopped in an instant as if a body immobilization spell was cast on them, causing them to stop steadily in midair. Li Xiaotian was flabbergasted as she watched the battle unfold. Ever since she started practicing martial arts, she had never seen a battle of this level. The majestic aura and killing intent caused her heart to tremble. All sorts of feelings welled up in her heart as she looked at Tang Zheng, increasingly feeling the gap between them. This Buzhou mountain is connected to the sky beyond heaven. When I return, I must convince the palace master to ally with the martial sect and stop the cultivator's plan. Because cultivators are really too powerful. Yi Yuan's expression was very excited. Obviously, the more powerful Tang Zheng was, the more honor he would feel. In mid-air, Tang Zheng and Tian Chanzi joined forces. Both of them were using the sword art of flying immortals from beyond the sky, but Tian Chanzi was clearly superior. With a series of explosions, the rain of swords that filled the sky turned into nothingness. However, the 100 Transformation Star Lord's methods were not limited to this. With a flash of water, a gigantic water monster suddenly appeared in the sky. This water monster had many tentacles that quickly slapped towards the two of them. Boom! Boom! With two loud sounds, Tang Zheng was caught off guard and was slapped to the ground. Tian Chanzi relied on the sword in his hand to block the attack. Seeing that, the 100 Transformation Star Lord chuckled, "I already said that you guys overestimate yourselves. If you want to go against me, dream on." With that said, the tentacles of the water monster attacked once again. Countless tentacles of various sizes swarmed over. Tang Zheng, hurry up and retreat. Your power is still weak, you are not their match. Tian Chanzi had already seen that Tang Zheng had taken a blow just now, causing his blood to surge up and blood to flow out from the corner of his mouth, so he hurriedly reminded him. I can't retreat. Tang Zheng stepped forward with his sword and slashed out, cutting off several tentacles. However, he was still hit by a few tentacles and was sent flying far away. Tian Chanzi's expression suddenly changed and he shouted, "Eat my sword." Holding the sword with both hands, he slashed out. In an instant, the sword in Tian Chanzi's hand shone brightly and transformed into a gigantic sword. Boom! The gigantic sword slashed the water monster's body and many of the tentacles disintegrated and broke apart. Then, Tian Chanzi's figure flashed and immediately stood beside Tang Zheng. He asked with concern, "How are you?" "I won't die. The 100 Transformation Star Lord is too powerful. We are no match for him." "Let's retreat first," Tang Zheng said. "There is no way to retreat now. Besides, although Mount Buzhou is the passage to sky beyond, we don't know how to get there. Maybe we can only find out if we capture the 100 Transformation Star Lord. Mount Buzhou has disappeared for countless years, and the 100 Transformation Star Lord lived here. I'm afraid it has something to do with it, so we can't retreat." Tian Chanzi gritted his teeth and said firmly. "Well, Tian Chanzi, then I'll play a big game with you this time. Isn't it just exploding and dying? Let's have a good fight first." Tang Zheng said fearlessly. He had already felt the pure yang force in his body running amok. He could explode and die at any time, but at this juncture, he couldn't care less. "Tian Chanzi, watch me. I'll use the 4 symbols venerable to fight with him." Tang Zheng rose from the ground and rushed into the body of the 4 symbols venerable. Tian Chanzi's eyes lit up and he muttered to himself, "Boy, you're really something. You even took the 4 symbols venerable for your own use. Then I'll also fight with the 100 Transformation Star Lord with my old life. It's just that I can't see his specific cultivation. It's really troublesome." Tian Chanzi and Tang Zheng couldn't see through the 100 Transformation Star Lord's cultivation, which showed that the strength of the 100 Transformation Star Lord was very terrifying. It should be known that since Tian Chanzi entered the 100,000 mountains, his cultivation had improved by leaps and bounds due to the abundant spiritual qi. He had recovered to the 9th level of the Gold Core realm, which was equivalent to the 9th level of the Supreme Power realm. This showed that the 100 Transformation Star Lord was at least a master of the Yuanying stage. When the 100 Transformation Star Lords saw Tang Zheng get into the body of the Four Symbols Venerable, he said in surprise, "I didn't expect you to really subdue the Four Symbols Venerable." Back then, the Four Symbols Venerable followed Qi Yu to fight all over the world. How glorious was that? I didn't expect it to fall into your hands. You're so weak that you don't deserve to have the Four Symbols Venerable. The Four Symbols Venerable has no thoughts, so he can be my puppet and companion. You want to snatch the Four Symbols Venerable? Dream on. Tang Zheng shouted and controlled the Four Symbols Venerable to attack. He directly punched the water monster in the sky. The water monster trembled violently and turned into raindrops all over the sky. It was completely destroyed. The 100 Transformation Star Lord saw this and his face turned ugly. He said, "Your strength is indeed impressive. However, compared to the strength of the Four Symbols Venerable, this is simply child's play. Since it's child's play, I'm not interested in playing with you." The 100 Transformation Star Lord's body flashed and a phantom suddenly appeared around him. However, everyone immediately realized that this was not a phantom, but a real person. The 100 Transformation Star Lord turned from 1 to 2, and from 2 to 4. Soon, the sky was filled with 100 Transformation Star Lord. Every one of them looked exactly the same. Tian Chanzi's face changed slightly. He said, "These are not phantoms, but real doppelgangers." "Ha, of course. This is my 1,000 doppelganger technique. Can the two of you fight against so many doppelgangers of mine? Let me tell you, I'm not called the 100 Transformation Star Lord for nothing." The 100 Transformation Star Lord said proudly. Everyone suddenly realized that the so-called 100 Transformation Star Lord was not completely transforming into someone else's appearance. Instead, it was because he had countless doppelgangers. Fighting against him was equivalent to fighting against a large army. The difficulty level of the battle increased exponentially. So what if you have doppelgangers? I'll still beat you up. Tang Zheng shouted fearlessly. He waved his fist and punched the doppelgangers. Boom! 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 A series of explosions rang out. Many doppelgangers were shattered, but new doppelgangers were formed. Therefore, Tang Zheng's attacks were all in vain. Tian Chanzi's expression changed when he saw this scene. How could he attack like this? However, even if his attacks were ineffective, he had to continue attacking. Therefore, Tian Chanzi used the Flying Immortals Beyond Heaven sword technique without hesitation. This time, his treasured sword turned from 1 to 2, and from 2 to 4. In an instant, there were tens of thousands of them. They were endless. These swords pierced towards the doppelgangers. The doppelgangers immediately blocked. They formed a water shield in front of them. Some of these shields were shattered by the swords. The doppelgangers behind them were pierced and exploded. However, some of them were lucky enough to escape. However, new doppelgangers immediately replaced them. Therefore, Tian Chanzi's attacks were still in vain. However, Tian Chanzi was not discouraged. This was because he discovered a pattern. The doppelgangers that were pierced were the furthest from the center. Only the doppelgangers in the center of the army were lucky enough to survive. Tang Zheng, attack the center. That's his main body. Only by attacking his main body can the doppelgangers be defeated. Tian Chanzi reminded. Okay, let's attack together. Xiao Bai, Thundercloud Beast, you guys attack together. Tang Zheng gave the order and took the lead to charge out. Xiao Bai and Thundercloud Beast followed like shadows. They directly jumped onto the body of the Four Symbols Star Lord and attacked the doppelgangers from above. Kacha! Lightning intertwined and flashed. Boom! Flames filled the sky and flickered. The Four Symbols Star Lord clenched his fists and smashed down from above. The air in the sky was rapidly split to two sides. A formless and terrifying force smashed towards the center of the doppelgangers. Sixth move of Transcendent Flying Immortals, One Sword Immortal. Tian Chanzi shouted and used the most powerful move of the transcendent flying immortal's sword art. At this moment, the radiance of the long sword was completely withdrawn. It appeared simple and unadorned. It was a plain stab without any fancy moves. It seemed to be weak and had no aura at all. It made people doubt the power of the sword. However, no one noticed a well-hidden 100 transformation Star Lord's expression suddenly changed. This was the true body of the 100 transformation Star Lord. He thought to himself, this sword technique is really strange. It's already returned to its original state. The power is completely compressed in this sword, and not a single bit of it is exposed. Moreover, the power of this punch that the brat controlled the 4 divine symbols to attack is also extraordinary. I've really underestimated them. I've been trapped in Mount Buzhou for so many years, but these later generations are actually so outstanding. The others did not know what the 100 transformation Star Lord was thinking. They only had one thought, and that was to defeat the 100 transformation Star Lord. Therefore, they used all their skills. Tang Zheng's body was already emitting bursts of explosive sounds. His body was already on the verge of collapse, but he still gritted his teeth and made sure that this punch was his strongest attack. Chapter 4:18. Sword, Fist, Fire, Lightning, the 4 attacks combined into one. The heaven and earth changed color, and the powerful aura caused Li Xiaotian and Yi Yuan to involuntarily retreat out of the courtyard. The two of them looked up at the sky at the same time, only to see a dazzling light explode in an instant. The two of them couldn't help but close their eyes. Immediately after, their eardrums seemed to have been shattered. Their ears were filled with a dazzling sound, and they could no longer hear anything clearly. After a while, the two of them opened their eyes again. They raised their heads and saw that the resplendent light in the sky had disappeared and was replaced by a blue sky. The tens of thousands of clones of the 100 transformation Star Lord had also disappeared, leaving behind only his original body. However, at this moment, he was in an even more sorry state. His body and the corners of his mouth were covered in blood, and his face was deathly pale. Half of the 4 symbols' venerable's body had sunk into the ground, and the thunder cloud beast was lying on the 4 symbols' venerable's shoulder, motionless. It was unknown if it was dead or alive, while Xiaobai was lying at the side with his head drooped. Tian Chanzi's long hair fluttered in the wind, but the clothes on his body had also become tattered, and the hand holding the sword was trembling slightly. However, his eyes were fixed on the 100 transformation Star Lord. The 100 transformation Star Lord also raised his head and stared at him. He wiped the blood from the corner of his mouth and said, I really didn't expect that you guys would have such a powerful force when working together. It's really not easy to kill you guys. Tian Chanzi's heartstrings trembled, he also felt a sense of powerlessness. His side had such a powerful attack, yet he was still unable to completely defeat the 100 transformation Star Lord. Just how powerful was he? However, at least from the looks of it, his side had the power to protect themselves after all, so the danger was temporarily lifted. 100 transformation Star Lord, we don't want to be enemies with you. As long as you tell us how to reach the sky beyond heaven from the Buzhou mountain, or bring the people of the sky beyond heaven from the Buzhou mountain to this world, then we can turn hostility into friendship. Tian Chanzi said in a deep voice. The 100 transformation Star Lord's expression turned cold as he asked in astonishment, you want to go to the sky beyond heaven? Exactly. Ha! The sky beyond sky is a mysterious place that has yet to be explored. What are you going to do there? 100 transformation Star Lord asked. In fact, Tian Chanzi didn't know what kind of place the outer sky was. 1,000 years ago, he had only heard of this name, and it was almost erased from the depths of his memory. Later, when he heard about the outer sky from the mouth of the 5-clawed golden dragon, he suddenly realized that all the cultivators in this world had been expelled to the outer sky. As for Mount Buzhou, it had disappeared many years ago. Many people thought that Mount Buzhou was just a legend, which was why Tian Chanzi did not immediately think of using Mount Buzhou to let the practitioners return. At this moment, he was sure that he was standing on Mount Buzhou, so he naturally wanted to let the cultivators return to this world. Seeing that the 100 Transformation Star Lord seemed to know a lot about Mount Buzhou, Tian Chanzi was moved and said, I naturally have a reason to go to the sky beyond sky, but I want to ask you, what kind of place is the sky beyond sky? The sky beyond sky is very dangerous, but also very mysterious. In ancient times, many people were sent to explore the sky beyond sky, but most of them never returned. They only brought back bits and pieces of clues, which were not very useful at all. The 100 Transformation Star Lord frowned as if he was deeply immersed in his memories. Unknowingly, the 100 Transformation Star Lord's face became ferocious as he said sternly, the sky beyond sky is a dangerous place. It shouldn't exist in this world, but so many people still want to explore it, thinking that there are huge treasures that are of great value to the cultivators. Humph, how laughable. After paying a heavy price countless times, these people still don't give up. They are a bunch of idiots. No one expected that the 100 Transformation Star Lord would hate the sky beyond sky so much and was very surprised. Tian Chanzi said, since you said that the sky beyond sky is so dangerous, does that mean that the cultivators who were expelled to the sky beyond sky are also very dangerous? What expulsion? The 100 Transformation Star Lord was confused and looked at Tian Chanzi blankly. Did someone go to the sky beyond sky again? Yes, hundreds of years ago, all the cultivators in this world were expelled to the sky beyond sky. We are only the lucky survivors. Tian Chanzi said regretfully. The 100 Transformation Star Lord heard this and his eyes suddenly widened. He shook his head and said firmly, impossible, I have clearly destroyed the stairway to heaven of Buzhou Mountain. How can anyone go to the sky beyond sky? Tian Chanzi frowned and said, what do you mean? I have already destroyed the stairway to heaven of Buzhou Mountain to the sky beyond sky. It is impossible for anyone to go to the sky beyond sky. The 100 Transformation Star Lord repeated. When Tian Chanzi heard this, his expression changed, and he cried out in panic, You! Why did you do this? Why did you destroy the stairway to heaven? Why are you so crazy? Buzhou Mountain was the only way for Tian Chanzi to go to the sky beyond sky, but the 100 Transformation Star Lord had told him that this way was not going to work. All of his hopes were gone, so how could Tian Chanzi not break down? Ha ha ha, I am crazy. What a joke. I'm doing this for everyone's sake. What's the point of wasting so many people's lives just to explore this danger zone? That's just courting death. So I might as well destroy the stairway and cut off those people's thoughts. That way, there won't be so many innocent people dying. 100 Transformation Star Lord firmly said. At this moment, his aura was completely different from before. He was full of righteousness and selflessness. Everyone looked at him strangely, not knowing why these two completely different auras appeared in him. However, this was not the main point of Tian Chanzi's attention. He was puzzled and asked, what do you mean by suicide? Where is the sky beyond sky? Ha ha ha, you want to go to the sky beyond sky, but you have no idea where the sky beyond sky is. What a joke. Fine, I haven't talked so much with anyone in many years. I will be merciful and tell you where the sky beyond sky is. After pausing for a moment, 100 Change Star King went on to say, Outer Sky is a place that was discovered by chance countless years ago. Outer Sky is a desolate place, but it hides many unknown dangers. After countless explorations, we have learned that there are very powerful beings in Outer Sky. These beings are very mysterious, and they are very powerful. Every time we search, we only get a little clue, and we have to pay a heavy price. After that, he stopped and looked like he was in pain. My parents sacrificed themselves while exploring the sky beyond sky. They left me alone in this world, so I have to destroy the sky beyond sky. I have to destroy the source of this disaster. Everyone was enlightened. No wonder the 100 Transformations Star Lord hated the sky beyond sky so much. It turned out that his parents had sacrificed themselves in the sky beyond sky, making him an orphan. In that case, the 100 Transformations Star Lord's life experience was actually quite miserable. No wonder his temper was so bad. Perhaps it was closely related to his experience growing up. Tian Chanzi was not in the mood to pay attention to the 100 Transformations Star Lord's experience. His focus was on the sky beyond sky. It turned out that there were so many unknown secrets in the sky beyond sky. Since there was such a terrifying existence in the sky beyond sky, wouldn't the expelled cultivators fall from heaven to hell when they went to the sky beyond sky? Wouldn't that be very bad? One should know that in ancient times, there were many supreme experts. If even these experts were so afraid of the realm beyond heaven, then it was simply too terrifying for those expelled cultivators. After all, those expelled cultivators were the remnants of the forces that survived the Great War between the righteous path and the demon race 500 years ago. Their strength was not as strong as before. Entering the realm beyond heaven was like putting fish on a chopping board. Tian Chanzi no longer cared about continuing to think about it, and even more so, did not dare to think about what kind of predicament his sect would encounter. His face was flushed red, and his breathing involuntarily became hurried. The atmosphere became heavy, everyone was shocked by the truth of the sky beyond sky. The 100 Transformations Star Lord restrained the pain on his face, looked at Tian Chanzi, and asked, "You just said that a few hundred years ago, the cultivators were expelled to the sky beyond sky. How is that possible? Didn't I already destroy the heaven stairway?" Tian Chanzi indignantly told him about how New Era used a scheme and then used a formation to expel the cultivators to the sky beyond sky. After the 100 Transformations Star Lord finished listening, he was in disbelief. How can there be a formation that can reach the sky beyond sky? I have never heard of it back then. What's so strange about that? It must have been after you destroyed the heaven stairway, and then other people thought of ways to reach the sky beyond sky. There are always many ways to achieve your goal in this world, and reaching the sky beyond sky is no exception. Tian Chanzi said without any surprise. The 100 Transformations Star Lord was silent for a long time before he said, "So it turns out that I have been imprisoned here for so many years, and I have not completely cut off the connection between this world and the sky beyond sky. Why have I done so much? Why is it all useless? Why can't others understand my good intentions? Why? The 100 Transformations Star Lord shouted towards the sky over and over again, as if he was questioning the heavens. Looking at his crazed appearance, the others seemed to be able to feel his despair and grief. A person's painstaking efforts were ultimately proven to be a failure. It was nothing more than a joke. This was not a small blow to anyone. However, everyone finally understood that the 100 Transformations Star Lord was imprisoned here. This was probably his punishment for destroying the heaven stairway back then. Everyone could not help but feel sad for him. Such a powerful person was imprisoned here because of this matter. Perhaps his starting point was not bad, just like he said, he wanted to prevent more people from paying the price of their lives. This kind of spirit could not help but make people respect him, and the way they looked at him also changed. Heaven Monk looked at his crazy appearance, but still did not give up and asked, "Is there no other way to reach the sky beyond heaven?" The 100 Change Star Lord ignored him. He was still immersed in his own emotions, questioning the heavens over and over again. Suddenly, he stopped questioning. A terrifying cold light erupted from his eyes as he roared hysterically, "Since all of this is useless, I won't keep my promise from back then. I'm willing to be imprisoned in this damned place. I want to get out, arg." You're tuning in to the Blissful Bookshelf YouTube channel. We're so grateful for your support, and don't forget to subscribe to join us on this incredible journey through captivating stories. Your generosity through donations truly makes a world of difference, as it's the primary source of revenue that allows me to expand and enhance this channel for you. Thank you from the bottom of my heart for being a part of this adventure.